Can I ascend from a lonely Greek god to the one supreme entity and rule of the cosmos? First, I would have to convert all the naysayers with my glorious divinity, and if a friendly conversation about my greatness won't persuade them, perhaps a flaming ball of fire can. Or a towering fire-spewing volcano. What about a bloodthirsty wolf the size of a New York high-rise? A monkey? And if all of that fails, perhaps my city's impressiveness can do the trick. Whatever way possible, I say, and you're free to witness the madness. The religion must grow. Welcome to Black and White 2. Our entry to the physical world begins with Jin and Yang, two high-challenged and peculiar gentlemen darting at us. The 2005 Conscience Dream Team, the dichotomy of good and evil. Their nurturing ways will help us blossom into the silly god we were always meant to be.
You'll need a creature. Let us tell you about these amazing beasts.
Tell me.
All creatures can be trained to become lovable, mischievous pets.
Or they can be the ultimate disciplined weapons of destruction and war.
Get to the infidels. One of these four beasts will be my feral child to raise, and whichever simpleton I choose will help drive my dominion across the realms. Through the first game, I raised a monkey, his name was George, by the way, to be an absolute heart-loving machine. He wouldn't hurt a fly. But these nincompoops all looked a bit hostile to me. Woosa. Who's that in the background? It's a tiger. Hi. I won't lie, it was a tough decision choosing between such marvelous organisms. Ooh, maybe the wolf. But the cow looks fucking awesome. With the hand-picked canine, the Jang brothers took me to visit our mighty Greek capital. But war was declared. The Aztec people was pillaging and burning our once peaceful town. I quickly snagged and tossed my helpless pacifist to the safety through an interdimensional portal. 1 villager saved. 5 villagers saved. The rest blown to bits.
What's happening? What's that rumble?
That creature seems to be performing some strange ritual.
They've got a evil monkey. He's doing a volcano.
What are these crazed Aztecs doing?
They bulldozed a few of my now flattened citizens with heavy barrels, so I found it only fitting returning the favor. I also improved on the concept by setting these hay balls ablaze before tipping them over the beach stormers. Is this how you're supposed to play this game? Are there gonna be more levels like this?
Oh no, another volcano. We can't save any more people.
How many volcanoes is this monkey summoning on this little island? He's in the background there. That's 2. That volcano insurance doesn't look so bad now, does it?
We've done all we can here, leader.
Not a lot, admittedly, but...
Now we got...
Or free the... But let's not... To the Northland!
Whee! What happened? As your fired neurons might have noticed, their dialogue is usually cut short. I tried to apply a fix so they could jammer on until completion, but it only seems to work for about half the time. Anyway, I launched myself overseas and landed on a lonely island with an old Greek settlement. A good place to re-establish ourselves and take the fight back to the lousy cask-rolling Aztecs. I remember having declined edit tutorials, but my conscience was adamant I needed training anyway.
Click on the gold scroll. Click on the gold scroll. Click on the gold scroll.
I eventually budged to his harassment and fed the people by harvesting grain from a farm and placing it in the village storehouse. You don't want to spend every waking hour collecting everything for these spoiled peasants, so I could assign a work title for a few different professions like farmer, forester, mine worker, and perhaps the most lucrative and sought-after job of them all, breeder. I'm magnificent. I'm divine. I'm majestic. So all the males got blue clothes, while the females got yellow clothes. Click on the gold scroll, leader. Some quick facts for you lurkers behind the screen there. This is the town square, and these statues show us the resource need, our overall alignment between good and evil, people's desires, as well as information about the population. And the green line here is the demarcation point of our influence. We can't god outside that line. 0.1% of evil? Why though? I haven't performed one single heinous act of any kind, have I? I've assigned people a job title. Is that evil? Well, if someone would have grabbed me and slapped a sticker on my forehead that meant I would have to work in the mines for the rest of my life, I would have been pretty pissed off too. The villagers needed somewhere to live. The ground is just not good enough, so I managed to set them up with a foundation for a house.
That's right. Well, keep going.
I built a few more and supplied the needed resources right away by dropping these trees on the blueprint. I also needed people to actually do the groundwork, so I assigned a few builders to the project. Can I do roads? I can. It's gonna be a mighty freeway here. My road would be the most epic of roads, but as I was outside my line of influence, I didn't have the correct permits and I ran into another issue. How do I cancel? How do I cancel the road? I'm pressing left mouse button, right mouse button, the middle one, escape, control, alt, shift, space, keep going. I'll keep going. I tried saving and reloading the game, but upon re-entering, the action was still in progress. backspace. Backspace is cancel. During my distress, I haphazardly discovered that I could skip this land as well, but I figured it best to stay and learn what I could, not to walk into traps of my own doing. I sped up the building process by cutting out the middleman and erected the houses myself. Also, I got to extend a road.
Good. You've built enough houses for now.
Yes, breed in the fields. You naughty dogs.
Hey, what's that? That is the toolbar. Now click again to close it. Open it up again.
I spent some of that hard-earned tribute to buy and erect a temple, a building that required both wood and ore, and increased the village impressiveness to the point where a nearby town decided they wanted to live in our part of the island.
Look, those people are migrating. They want to live in our town. They're bringing all their worldly goods. Hooray!
As they reached my border, I accepted their application to settle down in our fair town.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Great One, for welcoming us into your magnificent town.
But living in here has its price. You're all gonna be breeders. I'm gonna further your DNA. All of you are going to be breeders for now. Winning over the land with an impressive village is not the only way into persuading people into aligning with my mission. There was also warmongering. I liked the idea of genocide, but I didn't have enough men for a platoon, so waiting for the breeders to accommodate my need for army specimen, I developed the village with more roads and houses. Finally, I could recruit my first platoon and pillage this village. So we're basically just standing at the village center and dancing. That's the way to take over a village. Aggressive dancing. And I guess the game punishes you for choosing the dark side by playing the most excruciating ticking sound. This would go on for some time, 6 minutes to be precise. Yay! With the village conquered, Jin and Yang gave us an ultimatum. The time of innocence was done, and we would have to choose between good and evil. Win over followers by waging war or by impressiveness.
Well, actually, leader, you can win by a mixture of impressing and war, you know.
The last 2 villages followed suit, and we'd saved our people from extinction. They were now strong enough to survive on their own. The next job would be to take on the cold Norsemen.
If you want to leave this land, click on the gold scroll. Are you sure you wish to leave the land? Click again to confirm. The Norse land. I'm certain they'll join us against the Aztec hordes. And they have a creature too.
But for now, I have to establish a village as a basis and take it from there.
What? Greeks on my homeland?
My godly powers allowed me to hear the thoughts of their leader. They weren't very impressive, but there you go. How do I build a town, though? Are we gonna make it super awesome and good looking, or am I just gonna throw some buildings out in the wild here? I mean, I want it to look somewhat good. Doesn't have to look really good, but somewhat. Do we have a mine? We have a mine over there. That's nice. I had a lot of questions from my godly self on how to establish the best village, but there is no use arguing with someone who has no sense for aesthetics, so I placed my first storehouse so to start with something. Wolfie the Wolf here had the right idea wanting to build it, and a good belly rub would set him on the right path.
Well done, oh astonishing one. You built a wall, and we're protected against the Norse.
Hey, good job, people! I already forgot that I did that. Shall I eat trees? No, that's not good for you. After I slapped some sense into the creature, I put him on the gatherer role and started to assign work to my most lazy villagers. I guess you need both men and women as breeders. You probably don't need that many men, though. I looked for the strongest specimen to further the gene pool, and to energize this expansive frenzy, we would need a lot of food. So I built a couple of roundabouts with farmland snugged tightly within. I processed some tree trunks and happily affirmed another favorable trait for Wolfie. He would now gather grain from fields as much as he possibly could. There were still jobs to fill, so I assigned foresters and sent a few manly men down into the mines for ore. What are you doing? You got work to do. Fields to farm. Oh, sorry. My bad. Did you just place a tree there? What are you doing? Apparently, placing a tree on a farm is how you gather grain. But he's just a baby after all, so I can't fault him for trying his best. Besides, let's face it, he's already starting to challenge my own abilities. I built a road through our town, and for each villa, I received 45 in impressiveness. Let's see, he's gathering grain. That's perfect. Good job, dude. The creature is a lot more handy in this game than the other one. To expand even further, I erected an altar for my worshippers to accumulate mana for my godly miracles. I'm no one without my worshippers.
Well done, leader. You have built an altar. At the moment, your creature isn't a very good collector.
He's just a level 1 gatherer, like all of his roles are in the beginning. But we can level up each role if we want to by spending some tribute. Tribute is earned by completing objectives and winning over the land, by the way. Thought you should know. He can also be an entertainer, a builder, soldier, and if he earns it, we can let him roam around at his own free will. I built a temple and was interrupted by a thought-shouting dairy digester.
Let them build! We will just have more to destroy!
Chad, Jamie Durant, David Lee Marer, Adrian Price, Karolinka Stenklova, Jane Jeffers, Rachel Forrest Hay, James Leach. You're a Leach, alright. With all of my adult children names memorized, I swooped up and indoctrinated my first worshipper because Yang wanted me to show off my godliness. With my worshipper's incredible miracle dance, it infused my hand with a water miracle, so I doused my crops and witnessed them grow tall. But to spew out miracles on a regular basis, I would need a lot of mana through prayer energy. So I brainwashed a handful of individuals and I moved this tree. Hello, if you're just gonna stand here, you might as well breed. Right? Oh, did I just do a objective maybe? Oh, that's how you do it. Win the land, 100,000 tribute. Level up a platoon to regular skill, collect resources, yeah. Creature must kill 2 platoons. Creature builds 12 houses. Creature! I put the builder cap on Wolfie and assigned him a development project. While he constructed houses, I harvested and watered a few crops and hopped on over to our Norse friend settlement. They also had an astute wolf, although this one's appearance was noticeably more evil, teethy, and perhaps even a few inches taller. His farming skills also looked honed for a rather large amount of grain with each joink. But my own foreman was no slouch, as his structural engineering skills was self-evident. Let's get a nursery, which also will help with birth rates. I also got a graveyard, a granary, and a lamppost. Clearly finer buildings like these wonders are more of a late-game delight, as they cost upwards 1 million tribute. And I had so far only amassed 54,000, deducting the 3 buildings I just purchased, of course. Unexpectedly, an array of alarming bells went off, and I immediately panicked in fear of being attacked. But my walls were still standing tall, so I don't know what the chiming sounds actually meant. I put down the nursery, fed it with a couple of trees, and did the same for this tiny house. Oh, we got another one. Yay! The population grows. I thought it best to scoop up a little grain from this farm, as our population was now shooting out babies like there was no tomorrow. The placement of this boulder annoyed me, so I proceeded with throwing it over the ocean towards one of my rival villages. They would surely appreciate a most good-looking boulder like this one. As I loaded up my hand catapult and released it across the border, it vanished from sight. And I couldn't find it in the opposing village either, but I hope someone gets to cherish this big rock like I did. Delicately, I tried to encourage Wolf's habit to construct our village houses, but I still managed to quadruple slap him, before my hands finally calmed down enough for a good rub. Yeah, groovy, mate. I extended this gravel road with accommodating houses, laid down another road alongside the walls near the edge of town, and put down a graveyard next to the creature pen. I took a glance of the villagers' wants and needs. They screamed for another nursery. This had me confused, as there were no children occupying our current one. I ignored their unreasonable request and put down a granary instead. Display fertility map F. Okay, so people are not giving birth up here in the mountains and in the woods here. What does this even say?
The Greeks mock us with their very existence.
Too bad. Examining my wolf, I could see that it was a bit sleepy. After all, he'd been pulling an all-nighter trying to get these houses in order, so I told him to go home and take a nap. I figured my villagers were below average intelligence because they had yet to find and use the nursery. If available, I would have put up a big sign saying where it was, but this extra bit of road would have to do.
Look, those people are migrating.
Who?
They want to live in our town.
Welcome.
They're bringing all their worldly goods. Hooray!
Hooray!
Turn that settlement into a military outpost.
Hey, he's getting pretty jumpy.
And that's why we need strong defenses.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to build an army then. I'll do one over here. Erecting the building of war sparked a reaction from our cold winter friends up in the north, and they began their advancements, forcing this peaceful town into their fold. That tick-tick-tock sound is getting really annoying when you've heard it for a couple of seconds. Indeed, but there's no reason for you to suffer with me, so I've turned it down for you. With that done, I grabbed a lonely pebble of ore just outside this mine from my armory. Following that, I instructed a few to become builders. But the speed at which these builders erected structures was that of a sloth, so I took it into my own hands, so to speak, and finished the building. This enabled me to train my first platoon, but I aborted the action when I saw that we only had 10 feeble men available. Getting that second foundation for a nursery seemed to have quenched the villagers' thirst for additional nurseries, for now at least. Now they craved light instead, so I sprinkled some illumination in the form of lampposts by the side of the roads and homes. The migrating village was now at my border. They hid behind the towering gate, so they weren't that easy to spot. As I led them through Hell's Pass, I noticed a Norse army over by my other enemy-repellent stone piece. My line of influence had just reached beyond the wall, so I tried bashing their squishy noggins in with this big rock. I failed miserably, so I gave that up and welcomed our first settlement. With their abundance of goods, our stores was now spilling over with resources, so I put down another storehouse. Please, could you be done with this? Take it over already. I can't take it anymore. Feeling compelled to progress, I took it upon myself to finish off these buildings while my buildings disciples were off doing something else. Subsequently, my village impressed another town so much that they decided to migrate. I wonder if it's easier to get the villages with a big army instead of like doing impressive work in your own village. You're allowed to do whatever you want now, Wolfie. You do you. An illusion of free will, as I had instilled a sense of helplessness into the poor boy. I bought a soothing healing miracle to clear any aches Wolfie might acquire when he's gnawing on squishy noggins and poured one over him for a field test. I'll attack enemy soldiers on the odd location. Well, I'll grind up enemy soldiers into human paste whenever I see them. That's my boy. That's my boy. You grind them up in the meat grinder there if you'd like to. I won't object. The pilgrimage of our pending new settlement was still miles away, but I noticed a trio of hostile platoons advancing our way. There was also a small and nimble army outside our eastern walls, which I thought would suit perfectly for a quick skirmish. I erected a gatehouse, opened the doorway, and set Wolfie out to munch. A few stomps, kicks, and punches later, and Wolfie was crowned victor. Available men. 80. Oh, let's go! You guys are getting smashed. I already have this one, right? There's no one here. Population. But if I kill those guys, those 3 armies, then I could take this one maybe? I already have that one. I'll take that one, I'll take that one, I'll take them all. Who am I kidding? I'll take them all. That is the definition of dominion, my friends. While my flabby men suited up for war, I gave a handful of grain to a much hungry good boy. He seemed confused though and thought more of sleeping around trees rather than eating whatever was in his grip. I made the decision for him to gnaw on the grain, and when I filled up his figurative bowl a second time, I told him to nosh to his heart's content whenever he saw a patch of grain. But he was a drowsy boy, so I sent him to his pen for an afternoon post-feast nap. Time to wage some war. I repositioned my men closer to the gate. Meanwhile, I splashed water on some dirt, collected grain, and held a quick welcoming ceremony for our new inhabitants. That gave me enough tribute to invest into a ranged armory, giving us men with bows. I then headed out with my men and ambushed an unsuspecting troop of soldiers dining.
War is upon you, whether you like it or not, men. And tonight we dine in hell!
As we slashed their limbs off, they got reinforcements. I should have brought something bigger and more teethy to the fight, but as my platoon was quadruple the size of that of the enemy, we only lost 10 good men anyway, so I considered it a success. With all enemy troops in close proximity vanquished, I advanced my men west to conquer the sea town. Meanwhile, I wanted my creature to grow large and in charge, so I gave him a boulder for weight training. The first one was too big for him. The second one also too large. The third one was small but not tiny enough, and the last one was a pebble. But he just can't do that. He was a happy rascal though. In the background, my men had conquered the sea town by force, turning it into its own settlement with its own line of influence. I quickly scanned the menu for a way to migrate them into Rome. Yes, I see our city as magnificent Rome, but alas, they would have to remain here. Okay, what do you want? Do you want walls? Well, you're not getting any walls. You're gonna have to do whatever you did. I don't have time for you. I do have time for all that ore though. Yes, please. I'll gather that ore. Which I then split up and took half over to Rome, where 2 out of my 3 storage houses now had reached its capacity for wood. I also splashed my farms and blessed a select few with a healing miracle. With that out of the way, I sent out new orders of acquisition to my valiant troops. I reckon they still had enough steady men to wipe out this army and overthrow the Norsemen's rule in the nearby village. To their support, I called Wolfie the Wolf, which accidentally stumbled upon this camp of Norsemen. I didn't want to put an innocent settlement in harm's way, so I belayed the destruction order until they were out of harm's way. And with them comfortably 50 yards away, I sent in my mean machine. Unfortunately, they disguised themselves as civilians, and according to the 4th Geneva Convention, they're now off limits. So I redirected Wolfie to help with the next village. As the gates were in the way of this settlement of noodles, I opened the path and let them join our thriving society. Before getting busy capturing the next town, I removed the lives of this platoon and then leashed Wolfie to a forest in hopes that he would take a much-needed nap. After all, he said he would crash around trees as often as he could, so I put him to the test. He didn't sleep as much as he gently stood admiring them, so I figured these to be the wrong trees for sleep, so I moved him over to the next forest, and with supper in hand, he finally went to bed. Moose? Moo. Well, they're not mooses, but that's the sound they make. The Norse villages fell one by one to our power, so I continued to strike while the iron was hot by raiding the next village and attacking this set of unsuspecting men, which alerted the nearby platoon to attack us as well. They were easily overpowered due to our sheer numbers, but their leader insisted on sending out more men to their inevitable death. I asked Wolfie to come and join the party as he had now also woken from his slumber, but not before I would serve him a scoop of his favorite breakfast, dry grain. Yummy. They're kiting me across the entire map. There's 2 people, just kill them already. With the 2 Olympic runners overrun, I would split up the fellowship. My men would be directed to the village center and my wolf to take the mountain pass and intercept another incoming platoon. What do you want? More houses. I'll build some in the town square here. In the town center. Maybe I should build mansions, actually. I should buy mansions and build. What is that sound? Is that a good sound or is that a bad sound? Sounds like a bad sound, right? It is if you're a Norseman. Wolfie was crushing them like ants, all the while thinking of the good poop he would take later. That's my boy. With his last stomp, he had banished 2 platoons all on his own, rendering one of his personal objectives complete. Yeah, it's a lot easier to just create armies as to build an impressive village and persuade people through shiny objects and materialism. But I don't think it actually is. I just needed to justify my thirst for blood. Platoon size 65. Oh, hell yeah. Down at this archipelago, I found a dancing man. He and his brothers had a brewery, and this special batch lacked ingredients. I would throw the barrel to the next island over for the brother of the brother to add his special ingredient. But I experienced some technical difficulties. How do I actually throw it, though? Ah, finally. Oh, that's way too far. Sorry, lost your brew to the sea. The toss would either go really far or not move more than an inch, but I managed to deliver it to the second brother, who had already poured himself a sneaky pint. There were more brothers waiting, so I wasted no time throwing another batch into the sea.
Tough luck.
I took a quick break from hurtling barrels to defend my new town and mobilize a new platoon of archers, but I was quickly back to my barrel-choking ways.
Too bad.
Is it just because...
No!
I did another reset, and instead of small and incremental movements, I heaved it from the starting point and could then hand-deliver it to the third brother. Tell me, friend, when did Sodom on the Wires give up wisdom for mead? Saruman had one mean display of choreography. A fourth brother was apparently waiting for the delivery, so I chucked another barrel to the sea floor, which meant another break for me. I would move my bowmen to meet up with our infantry, but noticed that a sneaky, beaky army had breached our perimeter. Hey! I was bombarded on all fronts. While my infantry took care of the problem down south, Wolfie would need to hold off these fellas. I thought I'd also toss him a graceful heel, but menaced the enemy more than anything else. And while the Norse army ran like the very whips of their masters were behind them, and my men in full pursuit, I got back to the brothers and just tipped the barrel over the edge and could deliver it to its final destination.
That is sweet.
Praise be, now we can get wasted. Party all night long. Ah, the lads. Just having a beer, having fun. Doing some misdeeds, mischievous behavior.
Well done, leader.
Well done, leader. You use your godly powers to bring liquor to the people. You're a good lad.
I was gifted 20,000 tribute for delivering the barrels of booze. Wolfie was still hustling and tussling with the angry Norsemen, and another troop of around 5 besieged my army of 100. Clearly, these Norsemen has been left out in the cold for too long, because they're just stupid at this point. It was then time to brave the town closest to our enemy's walls. With the mountain pass clear, I marched my men forward and ordered the acquisition. How are you still not... Thank you. Following Wolfie's valiant stompage, I would move him on up to join the onslaught. After all, there were still a few enemy troops left to deal with. There were futile attempts being made to defend the town, of course, but they were swiftly handled. Back in the neglected city of Rome, cries echoed for more farms to feed the mouths of the many more occupants now roaming the streets. With a couple of new roads, I attached a new farm on either side and considered my efforts enough before going back to more pressing matters like warmongering. Yeah, now you have farms. I'm busy. Okay, I'm busy. Just like Wolfie was busy resting up for his next battle. Somehow we would need to infiltrate and kill the city's remaining platoons. I counted 10. There was also the issue with their massive walls with sharpshooters mounted on top. That's gonna be a problem. The nearby towns succumbed to our demands, so I organized and prepared our troops for the assault. Wolfie the Wolf gave the go-ahead with a fierce howl. My bowmen took care of the sharpshooters on the wall, whilst the infantry played decoy. They tried to outflank us, but the meatbags were quickly subdued. As I coordinated the troops for another attack on their perimeter defense, our beast punched a hole through the wall, killing every last single man on it. Oh my god. But I want you to attack this one. I want to get inside here. Or just go through the gates. That's fine. That's fine. Wolfie pummeled away at the city gates. Meanwhile, my brave warriors held off the enemy's advancements until the gates was grinded down into submission and we could enter the city. Their first 2 waves of defenses was a breeze, but then came their creature, Wolfie the Wolf's evil twin. The battle of battle was upon us, so I sent in Wolfie to take care of the imposter. And while the battle of Canaans persisted, I tried to have my swordsmen and bowmen assisting, but they were kind of hard to maneuver through all of this. I instead executed a tactical retreat to a more open field and was able to utilize our swords and arrows to bring him down. I thought this would see the end to the Norsemen's defenses, but they were not deterred and sent an additional 2 platoons to their own demise, much to my own delight. And with no immediate threat remaining, I stormed the town center. While my men captured the town, Wolfie was busy tearing down the remaining walls, which I thought was an unnecessary use of his energy and talents, so I got him back to our closest settlement, fed him and healed him. But the enemy had been biding their time and seized the absence of Wolfie and deployed an ambush squad with their wild dog close to their heels. While While they kept throwing meat bags at us, I flew home to train an additional 65 footmen. I would have preferred to have an extra army of archers as well, but the breeders had been slacking. More and more of my men died in the hands of the Norsemen, and Wolfie had a hard time distinguishing ally from squishable foe. A few would haphazardly wound up in his crossfire. He was also himself gravely injured, so I pulled him back while manifesting a healing miracle to mend his wounds.
No! No! My little creature is dead! I could have taken this island by impressiveness, but that's not something that we're gonna do. Oh, hell no! 5 people.
But that was 5 people more than I had ready for our defenses. Luckily, I remembered that I am a god, and I have powers, so long as I bought them. So I acquired the fireball miracle, but before I had a chance to fry their bacon, they had vanished out of sight. But there was still a city standing erect, which would be my new target.
Why can't I throw it?
There was a hard no miracle zone inside the enemy's borders.
Oops.
So if I came too close or touched their line, I was unable to fire off the miracle.
Boom. Oh, yes.
If it is war they plan, it is war they shall get!
Oh, it's war, all right. I'm gonna bombard you with just a bunch of fireballs. Burn in hell. Valhalla. I'm not sure. Just go burn somewhere.
We're being assaulted! Do something!
Being assaulted?
This assault was not much of an assault and was handled with a bit of fire. From there on, I proceeded to rain down my hellish fire on their city before witnessing the second coming of my dear Wolfie. He looked kinda broken, beaten, scarred, so I healed him up before splashing our farms for excess grain to feed him a pre-slumber snack so he could regain his strength. He would need it. He also dropped a dookie in his pen, which I accidentally punished him for, but rectified my mistake quickly and told him to go to bed. While he was off dreaming of mauling innocent people, I prepared another band of sharpshooters.
Stonehenge. Oh, is that your altar, maybe? I don't see any miracles, though. Because you're not a god. You weak man.
In case of another setback, I prepared breeders to produce more soldiers. A lot more soldiers. And Wolfie was teasing a soldier by trying to convert him into a farmer, but with the troops assembled, I charged through the city gates and was yet again met with trouble. With the threat neutralized, I stormed the capital once more, and taking no chances, I recruited whatever men Rome had to spare. But like a nail in the eye, they kept harassing us. I tried to utilize Wolf as a human shield as much as possible. This meant that if there was an enemy in our midst, he would pummel them all to eradicate the vermin, friend or foe. Eventually, I had to move him out the way not to kill off our entire army.
Stand over there. You done? Yeah, you're ready.
Wolfie's evil twin was back. This time I kept the infantrymen on the village center and told the bowman to attack the beast. He got knocked out twice. He resurrected and charged in again, but was swiftly taken care of. To stop this everlasting cycle, I tried to reach their creature pen with my fireballs. I'm not sure if destroying it would matter much, but I had to try. After a couple of more assaults from the beast, we finally overthrew their master's reign.
Take it before he comes back. Yes!
Having witnessed our brutality, the Norsemen surrendered and put down their swords. Apparently there is a prophecy in the works here. It speaks of a weak race brought to strength by a god. I am that god. And to fulfill the next chapter of said prophecy, I would need to go to Honshai and tumble with the Japanese.
We've done it! Victory! I've been hearing rumors that some more of our people survived the Aztec volcanoes.
In another land far, far away, we found our missing archers alive and well, and sure enough, word about our arrival seems to have reached the Japanese.
My brother has sent me to make this island safe. This I will do.
The brothers Wingers and Dingers here did their usual dance routine of right and wrong.
We'd better start building now. These Japanese seem to be formidable builders themselves. They look pretty handy at fighting as well.
And the Japanese look real good at fighting.
An island's width separated our settlements, and this time we started on equal ground with our adversary. However, they had brought larger armies, and the foundation of their city was already well on its way of taking shape. I put down a storage house and dragged out this horizontal protection thingy.
That wall will not protect you from the magnificence of our city.
Yes, it will. Fuck off. Oh, there's a back door here. I think it's better to just do, like, a couple of male breeders, and then I'll do the majority of female breeders, because obviously they've got the womb. They're doing all the heavy lifting. The men are just having all the fun things.
Yeah, we got a real people factory. The more people we have, the bigger armies we can recruit.
That's what I was thinking.
Great minds think alike, as they say. To have a steady supply of wood, I created woodchuckers, paved a way for a few precious farms, moved a couple of chunky rocks, and plowed another field for sowing.
They're raining death down upon us.
What? Where? No way!
Cool like a fool, I sent in Wolfie with some itty-bitty help from our elite set of archers, and after the battle I figured our beast of a builder might be able to finish off this wall for us. And in our part of the island there was 2 smaller towns for our taking, but they were really small and required only a little bit of impressiveness, so I let them be for now. Instead of putting down another farm as the many shouts from the town requested, I erected a granary to improve the farm's effectiveness, but one also had to create disciple refiners, which I forgot to do. This wouldn't be the last time either. Wolfie had done such an immaculate job with our walls that he himself was now stuck outside our perimeter. What an incredible dingus. But success breeds responsibility, so I told him to finish the back door as well.
We need ore.
These few pebbles of ore wouldn't last long. Fortunately, there was a mine not too far away, but it was out of reach for the time being. I expanded my house arsenal with a manor, offering a capacity of 10 compared to the villa's 9. A much needed and vital upgrade indeed. So I put down a few foundations and sealed them off with the accompanying road. I spotted that my Japanese neighbor's progress has stalled compared to mine. This was great news and spurred me on to finish off these houses. Stupidly enough, I had chosen a building that required the one mineral that I was lacking, and my ore was already depleted. Our backdoor wall was established, so I woke my sleep-deprived rascal of a creature and put him on the do-whatever-you-like leash, within a set boundary of course. And my brain went completely cuckoo and apparently forget that I wanted to win over these small villages with impressiveness alone, and not send in an army for a hostile takeover, but there you go. I helped with the farm harvest, and my disciples found the nearby ore mine.
You'd also like an altar so you can worship me. I like the way you think, villagers.
I got my first town, and with a nice surprise, migrating villagers. So I decided to hijack this village too.
A nursery to nurture the honorable warriors of tomorrow.
Stop commenting on my village and all my buildings. You focus on your own damn village. I mean, come on. You have 2 houses, 4 houses. Ooh. A lot of material though.
Yes, I was ahead at almost everything and figured I might want to steal the next set of towns as soon as possible. Outside my scope of influence resided a small mine with exposed ore, a job for Wolfie the miner. Everything was taking forever and a day, which made me realize that I had basically only indoctrinated breeders. As a result, people were running around willy-nilly. A few builders, farmers, and foresters sprinkled here and there would hopefully make the city sprout with progress again. Wolfie was also a good boy for gathering that ore.
Magnificent! Yeah, rock and roll! Hang it loose, buddy! Yeah! Oh, what a guy.
The new settlement timed the job assignment process perfectly and got sorted accordingly. More people meant more houses, and I sent over my elite soldiers to the next town over.
What are you doing? Stupid. Go over there. Don't take the path of Karatas, people. We don't need to. Don't keep people up too much by making a daylight last too long. It will make them unhappy and shorten their lifespans. Can I control the day? How do I control the day?
There was no hotkey or button in the menu that controlled the weather, so I might have missed it because I skipped the first tutorial island. So people would have to stare into the sun a little while longer. Beastie here didn't gather as much ore as he yearned for sustenance, so I grabbed him a fresh scoop of grain and reassigned him to the same ore gathering tasks as before. Meanwhile, my troops were back to square one, so I guided them through the gates and into the city square for another hostile takeover. I was keen of getting this ore, but Wolfie didn't cooperate the way I wanted him to. Clearly he couldn't do that. What a dingus. I moved him over to the other mine where I ran into the same problem. Now I'm the dingus. I was happy to see that we've captured this town relatively fast, so I kept the choo-choo train going and moved on to the next village. As I saw the Japanese army react to my offenses, I sealed off our town with a wall and told my army to stay put until we could gather more information about their battle plans. And people craved sleep. And as to why they didn't sleep, I can't answer. It was clearly night. But with the help of the internet, I figured out how to change the time of day. Only one thing I can see now is that their sleep cycle didn't begin until a little nudge later.
Sleepy time. Evil? What do you mean, evil?
I don't know why my nocturnal action was interpreted as evil, but perhaps it was more related to these wolves moving in on my village. I didn't like the hungry look on their face. Long story short, I disposed them.
Bye! Are they dead?
If they're not taking a nap after boarding their late-night flight, I'd say they're dead.
These people join us and take up our code of honor.
The Japanese had managed to expand their diplomatic relationship to the village just below theirs. I exploited the geopolitical tensions and answered with my own hostilities to widen my claim to the land, all to discover that the enemy had made an astonishing breakthrough in the wonders department.
I will watch with interest while the siren does her work.
What that work would be was still a mystery to me. Timber was flowing over in this village, so I invested in a storage house and enhanced the rich culture with a temple for Rome. Population was stagnant, so I thought a few old breeders could jack up everybody's spirit and tried again to set the mood with some moonlight. Wolfie finally got somewhere to sleep other than the forest, and the gatehouse was constructed for easier access to the mainland. The ticking was not exclusively for me anymore, as the Japanese initiated a takeover for their neighboring village. People over at this town wanted somewhere to discard their children, so I placed a nursery here, and as the ore-rich mine was just around the corner, I utilized the moment and sent a few good men and women down there. There was also a small town over the ridge I had overlooked, so I sent over my platoon to coerce them into joining us. Lacking fields, I plowed 4 new farms, and as I was erecting a dead house, I won a small settlement. I celebrated this victory with a road expansion.
I'll just move these big boulders. I like that boulder. That's a nice boulder.
Instead of manors, I now put down villas. I was afraid of an ore shortage, and to hurry up the construction I put Wolfie on the task and woke up his little helpers.
Good morning.
There was a weak point in our wall on the west side of our territory, namely, the absence of them. Having absolute faith in my platoon, they would have to act as a wall until I could remedy the situation. I continued with the expansion of all villages. This one would get a temple, and over the ridge I'd place another storage facility for the dead. And my breeders were working the corners as instructed, but with a workforce of 100% men and no paying customers in sight, I decided to reevaluate the situation and found a more suitable profession for these fellas. Placing down these villas, I realized that all the towns were a lot more aesthetic and pleasing to the eye before I came to power. To make it worse, I haphazardly mixed Greek and Japanese architecture. Wolfie and his helpers were not far in their housing projects, but I would let that play out on its own and offered a helping hand in placing down roads instead.
A migration is waiting at our borders for you to accept them.
Sneaky buggers.
To relieve growling tummies, I plowed a little more farmland and now sent my wall army north to capture our most serious vantage points. I also put my wolf on standby should the Japanese try to attack with our defenses down.
Open the gates. Open the gates! What in the name of expansion? What the hell happened with your village? It just blew up with walls and everything. You suck at building roads, though. Floor's lava. Literally. Watch your feet.
Enemies were now at our doorstep, which was really their doorstep as I was the aggressor. To protect our assault, Wolfie came charging in, crushing, stomping, and kicking. Winning over the town, the enemy was now at our doorstep. I conjured a heal for the battlefield, mending as much of Wolfie's wounds as everyone else's, and with a tactical retreat, a volley of arrows finished off the perpetrators.
Bam! Oh, you just grabbed a weapon, a boulder. You're gonna smash their skulls in. Lovely! Don't munch on the rock. Don't eat rocks. What are you, stupid? Think of your bowel movements. Gonna be rock solid. You also want to sleep. Look at that ass, though. Pretty, pretty, pretty. My loins are burning hot. By a bronze statue. Get yourself together, man!
Regaining my composure, I put a new village through my rigorous disciple training program, and through it got new breeders, farmers, and foresters. But the Japanese would not yield and assail us once more to reclaim their lost village. As I confused them with a healing miracle, Commander K9 here delivered the final blow in the form of a crushing stomp. But my crusade wasn't finished, and I redirected both Wolfie and my brave bowmen to deal with the enemy over the hill.
Ooh, quickly help him. Oh my god, he's dying! Run! Run, for the love of God, run!
Thankfully, he made a quick getaway, and our archers finished off the last of the bunch. Discovering that with the push of a button, I could recall my previously used miracle without having to go back and forth to the altar, made it a lot easier chucking down a couple of fast heals on poor old wounded Wolfie. I figured I should train more soldiers now, as I shortened the distance between myself and the enemy, and I've only used the supplied archers from the start, so I laid down the foundation for a couple of armories. Rome's farmers were incapable of harvesting all that grain from all those farms, so I educated a few in agriculture, and to top it all off, I helped with their first harvest and resprouted their barley through some water splashes. My other village also craved war, so I built them the same big buildings of war. They had an approximate population of 3 people, so I don't think they'll make the biggest contributions, but I'll take what I can get.
Ore desire. You need ore. Do you guys have ore? I think you have a lot of ore. I'll take like 4,000 ore and I'll place it over here. Bam. You don't need no more ore. You need sleep though, which I don't really care for.
No, they would have to down another coffee or two. Speaking of coffee, Wolfie's morning cup had gone straight through him, and he was about to lay one down the size of a log. I found that unnecessary, as the stink would likely be as big as the buildings themselves. Sleep was, however, encouraged, although I of course slapped him first for whatever reason. Not on purpose, I might add. Next, I built an armory and nursery for upcoming soldiers. The citizens of Rome fumbled around in the dark, so I lit their way with a lamppost or two, and Wolfie was finally snoozing on his own while the armies danced their troubles away. And I was looking for new military targets when I came across this side quest. Poor old Dolly the sheep here was about to burst with younglings. The velocity was so great we had to catch them mid-flight.
What a stupid game. What a stupid game.
This game would go on for some time, but after 5 minutes and a whooping 30 sheep later, Dolly was all empty inside.
It's come down to this, delivering lambs. That's the extent of my powers. 40,000 tribute. That was kind of nice, though.
You snooze, you lose. The time for work is now, people. A beautiful morning inspired 2 new beautiful squadrons. An infantry platoon the size of 45 and 15 bowmen to be precise. Moreover, the 3-people town could yield us an additional squad of 5, but I didn't want to enlist the entire village, so I cancelled the order. As I mobilized my new armors and sent them towards the front, Wolfie raised the morale of my more seasoned troops. They were all inspired and energized. With everyone assembled, Wolfie led the charge to capture the next village. I sent in the infantry to seize the center, while the men of many bows assisted Wolfie from afar. My swordmen were, however, stupid enough to walk underneath the legs of a giant wolf and pay the price. Upon inspection, the village was already empty, so the people had already migrated to the Japanese capital. The last village, on the other hand, would yield us a new tribe.
Creature pen, all done. Temple, nursery, I have that. Graveyard, altar, got it all. Field stores, granary, I got that as well. I got it. Maybe I should buy something then. Embellishments. Torture pit. Wonder. It's a lot of tributes. And how much do I have? 347. Smelter. What does that do? Process ore. Yeah, that's a good one.
I also purchased a university and put down the foundation in Rome.
Go and learn.
As well as the smelter.
You look fat, though, and old. You look like an old man.
War is hell, and Wolfie may have snacked on the grain a bit too much. What can I say? I'm an enabler. But war was a necessary evil to make it past this army and get through to the last village before we could take on the mighty capital. Wolfie was finishing up grinding their bones to powder when the enemy suddenly retaliated.
Prepare to lull them with the siren call.
Oh! What's happening? Oh! No!
Look into the light.
Do not look into the light, people! Oh! Like a moth to the flame!
Mesmerized by the shining light, my troops were in a state of trance. At one point I thought their souls left their bodies, but as it turns out the siren charm only persuaded them to put down their arms and shack up with the Japanese.
Maybe they're going back to me anyway.
No, they're all stinky traitors. In need of new battalions, I investigated the situation in my smaller villages first. As 5 soldiers wasn't going to cut it, I also built new armors in the western village.
Fine. Take my armies. I'll build new ones.
With scarce ore deposits, I divided our current stock between the settlements. I would need it for the war. I finished off a new storehouse and got the good news that the birth rate of our new potential soldiers were back to high in Rome. Birthfect. Establishing new homes, roads and lights would cover demands, but in all honesty, they won't live in them anyway whilst I start waging my war again. To win over the Japanese capital in a peaceful way, I would need an additional 18,000 in impressiveness. That is indeed a lot, and I wasn't sure I had impressiveness to spare. But they also had very large armies, and armies can also be a very hefty challenge. I enabled more breeding in the West Village and checked the now available men, which would be 45. Assembled, I would make another try at the penultimate village before taking on the capital. As the siren charm still loomed in the air from before, I was filled with trepidation as I advanced Wolfie and the men past the capital's walls. And on the subject of walls, Wolfie was testing out their durability. This was his own initiative, as his hatred for walls had sprouted into a life of its own. The smashing worked as a fine distraction, and the troops could initiate the capture of the village nearby. Meanwhile, Wolfie had punched a hole through the gates, so I had to stop him from taking on the entire city by himself. I offered him to munch on some grain while our soldiers finalized the conquest, and I scouted a new side quest while I was waiting on the sidelines.
That spy needs to get through the forest, but he's gonna get himself ambushed.
This spy needed to acquire information. Yes, it was all about the intelligence. I'd watch over him while also keeping track of the ambushers I could sneakily direct through the maze using these signs, which my spy followed as well. My first try was rather abysmal, but that was only because while I was trying to steer the ambushers on a wild goose chase, I happened to miss that the signs had a life of their own and changed their direction willy-nilly without me noticing. I was also under the impression that there was only one parchment to acquire, but discovered to my avail that I had to collect not 1 but 4 separate pieces. Ambushed within a minute, I took a well-earned break. Having left Wolfie on free will, he was back terrorizing the walls of the Japanese, so I had to reel him back again. With the beast leashed, I went back and recruited as much soldiers as I could from my villages, giving me 5 platoons of sizes 5, 10, 5 again, 45 and 50. But something must have gone wrong, because this squad only persisted of 1 brave soul. It was the same for my other platoons as well, so I disbanded them and re-recruited my battalions once more. I cleared the way for my troops by opening my gatehouses. Some of them had overslept and was a bit late, but with them joining, our squadrons was ready at last. I turned the day into nightfall so to move my armies through the night unnoticed. The strike would have to be soon. The enemy's armies grew larger by the minute, although they looked kinda weak and lazy. Wolfie showed his appreciation for our soldiers before his hatred for walls yet again steered him towards the city, and he had also grown rather chunky. I told him to lift weights to shed some of that weight, or at least convert it into muscle, but he was rather keen on keeping the weight on.
Let's try again, shall we?
Yes, let's do that. Let's try again.
This time I focused on the parchment right next to us. While my spy made his way forward, I looked deeper into the maze and steered people towards the first parchment that was now collected. The signs made it hard for me again, so I kept a watchful eye on them and had to do a few last-minute alterations as they changed directions. The second parchment was a snag and breeze, and having focused on getting all ambushers over to the empty side of the maze, it was now little trouble getting the last two parchments and make our escape.
Excellent. You have all of the necessary pieces of information.
Our spy got the treasure map, or whatever kind of map it was, and we received our juicy tribute. Splendid. In the background, our forces had gathered outside the city walls of our fierce enemy.
Woof. Woof, 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 woof. Okay, my men are ready.
With their morale sky high, Wolfie asked their captain to charge against the wall. It was rather easy breaching the perimeter, courtesy of the whole hole-in-the-wall situation Wolfie had put there earlier, but would I mindlessly charge in with my army, I'd surely die. So instead, I sent in Wolfie to bamboozle the enemy into following him back to where my men laid in ambush. It worked like a charm, so I did the same for the platoons southeast of the walls, and they all fell for my trap. There was a horde of antagonizing archers outside the city walls, which was fine by me as it gave me a chance to regroup for a heal or two before heading back inside. I also embraced the short ceasefire and drafted another battalion of 75 swordsmen to expand our army. Fearful out of running out of ore, I also trained mine workers to supply our war efforts. On my way back to the front, I remembered that I am a god. Why am I not using any miracles? Specifically the ball of fire one. I conjured and hurtled one away, but it barely made it past our own borders. And from another vantage point, I wasn't able to shoot one off at all. While my new battalion crossed land and sea to catch up with us, I remembered a strategy I employed for my first godly venture. If I could build enough houses and buildings, the village line of influence would expand, and my fireballs would not have to fly as far to produce the damage I so desperately wanted to inflict. So I built houses, all the way up to their now not so functioning walls. Now my fireballs reached their living arrangements, but their armies were still safely tucked away in the back out of my reach. So, new plan. I withdrew my armies and sent in Wolfie the Wolf for another strategic play. First, disabling the Siren Wonder, not to lull any more of my soldiers. I also grabbed and heaved this big and heavy rock through one of their walls, a one-time throw as I couldn't retrieve it from inside their borders. Second, I sent in Wolfie to trick the enemy into my fiery ambush, but they firmly stood their ground, so Wolfie took it into his own feet and stomped them. He would continue to outwit the enemy one by one until a platoon finally got in range.
Bam! Burn! Die. That was effective.
Before continuing, I healed up Wolfie and would smoke them out one by one. But I didn't need to rain down fire. Wolfie would stomp them up real good all by himself.
I'm quite happy. It makes me quite happy biting off the head of people. Miracles. I can select them from this menu instead of going back to the altar. The next level of the warrior skills for the creature will be more effective, dangerous in combat with your foes. Will be harder to hurt as well. Of course.
As well as Advanced Soldier, I also gifted him with a Fireball Miracle and sent him in to meet quite the wall of enemies to try out his newfound skills. In short summary, he wrecked the place.
Oh, look at this guy. Oh, Fireball! No way! He's awesome! Oh, I'm in love!
His stampede would continue as I sent in our platoons as a backup to start taking over the town square. I dilly-dallied a little back and forth with my platoons to help Wolfie, but he made it just fine on his own, blasting both the armies and their armory in a delicious ball of fire and with a nonchalant stomp, kick and punch here and there.
Oh, look at the old lady in the middle of battle! Oh, she's cheering them on! Oh, there's another one! Oh, he's just scared. This lady, though, she's badass. She's dead. Oh, she's alive! God damn!
The Japanese sent in their two last remaining troops, but ultimately perished to Wolfie, and I succeeded in taking over the town.
The rumors said the Greeks were noble and tempted the Norse with fine towns and enlightened culture. This is wrong. I must go through the portal to find my brother immediately.
Now we can move on to Nagoyan.
I scanned the island for any remaining side missions. There was only one, but it required a purchase of forcing, and I didn't want to waste my precious tribute on that right now.
And objectives. Creature collect resources, build a wonder. I don't have anything. Kill every living thing. No. I won't do that.
Are you sure you wish to leave the land?
I am.
Click again to confirm.
Oh, I'm clicking.
Over at this new foreign island, the loving brothers started by greeting each other with pleasantries.
You failed. I will deal with these Greeks according to the teachings of war.
These guys think they know war?
Let's show them how it's done, boss. We really do have to build a wall to protect us. And quickly.
His nips are really stretchy.
Wolfie the miner was eager to start collecting pebbles of ore, but I wanted to train my own mine workers and needed to reach said pebbles. There was a lineup and I chose the chunkiest in the row of disciples for the gruesome work of supplying ore to our efforts. Trees was also hard to find in the immediate area, so my new forest hunkers would have their work cut out for them. I utilized the few nearby trees for them to get started. Furthermore, sustenance is also important. One could even say vital, which I thought these farms would supply.
Their fields will provide our warriors with their victory meal.
Okay, cocky. You know what? I'll grind down your warriors into dust. And then I'll spread their ashes on the field. And then I'll eat your warriors. How about that, idiot?
They fill their stores. More for us to take as our own.
You have no chill.
The guy was cocky and insufferable, but for good reason.
Whoa, 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 wee wah. Wow, wow, wee wah. He's got armies. Oh, whoa, look at that. Woohoo! Man!
Yes, their defenses was rather large and in charge, with plenty of walls and accompanying catapults and siege weapons. I pondered if impressiveness would be the way of the builder to win over this land before my curious hands tapped on a side mission.
My brothers got drunk on our last batch, and now they can't find me.
For the brothers to reunite, I would have to light the beacons.
But not now.
The village would have to be my priority and needed development, so I started with a storehouse, followed by a smelter to increase ore production, an altar for miracles, a few roads to navigate the landscape, rock relocation, and villas to live in. Preaching about the vital importance of sustenance, I'd forgotten the most important ingredient in the food harvesting process: the farmers. Consequently, there weren't many remaining men for the breeding program, and in turn, leaving me with a lonely builder for a massive amount of construction. Since there was no walls surrounding us, the enemy invited themselves for a skirmish, but Wolfie loves a good stomp, so he wasn't all fuzzed about it. All those mangled bodies left him ravenous, and the mean-spirited wolf made an appearance wanting to snack on their leftover villagers. That would be a no from me.
Takes a lot of time to build this stuff.
I figured my accuracy with a fireball miracle would be subpar at this distance, and I lacked mana to even conjure one, as there weren't any worshippers at the altar singing my praises. They were all busy mining, chopping, and breeding, so I sent in Wolfie. But before he could even try, he was assailed by another Japanese troop of soldiers. They ought to know of his love for stomps by now. Sly as they were though, half of the soldiers acted out as decoys while the rest stormed the city and my storehouse. A limping Wolfie lagged behind, mistiming his initial attack. This misstep might have tragically led to fratricide, with friendly fire from his massive thunderous stomps.
Their beast seems to be aware of the teachings of war. How can this be?
Level 2 advanced soldier, that's how. He's a beast, figuratively and literally. I gave the beast another shot at calling for aid, but it turned out to be a dead end. I needed more men and resources. Once that was established, I opted to build an army for a small platoon to grab the 2 nearby villages. That would accomplish both tasks and hopefully expand our influence to the west.
Not enough men. Please breed people?
People won't breed unless there's a favorable situation in the village. I surmised it might have something to do with there being no living accommodations. So I converted a couple of foresters to builders. Why? I don't really know, as I then took the construction into my own hands anyway. I also built a nursery to nurture the breeding habits of my people, all the while our Citrus Watch took care of the pesky troublemakers again.
What is this?
The 7 Samurai legend. It is said that 7 brave samurai were turned into statues by an evil entity.
Okay. Am I supposed to do something with that?
The puzzle is actually rather straightforward, unless you're a bit of a noodle.
What do we need? You want a temple for some reason. A big and mighty temple. I should build a temple up there. That would be cool. That would be actually kind of cool, wouldn't it? Would be kind of cool.
It would be massively spectacular. I relocated the giant rocks I'd placed on the hill earlier, paved a path up top, and placed the golden foundation to be built. Finishing it substantially expanded our influence. Glorious. Craving mana, I promoted this builder to Master Worshipper. She's now solely responsible for channeling energy through expressive dancing and the occasional DJ set. Flabbergasted by finding mine workers outside the mine, I questioned their intentions.
Wait, is that empty or... Oh, it's empty. You don't have anything to do.
Realizing that, I invited them to become worshippers under the tutelage of our master worshipper. There was also another volley of soldiers encroaching on our territory, but Commander Wolfie was on the job. I searched for another ore mine as ours was depleted and found that the best solution for this would probably be to capture this village. They had both a mine and stocked shelves. Back at base, there was now an overflowing carcass problem.
I'll just toss them out. Looks like your people are food in my storage now. Bitch.
I took a swing at lighting the first pyre and fell just short of it. Wanting to go again, I was hindered by my worshippers' lack of enthusiasm towards me.
How come it says not enough men? Is it because everybody is assigned to something?
Putting this thesis to the test, I revoked the working permit of 5 disciples and lo and behold, managed to assemble my first troop of 5 men. While they suited up, I unleashed my companion to intervene in this oncoming train of soldiers.
Come on, lads. Take that one first.
And the horns of Stompage echoed through the land.
Are you taking care of business? Indeed you are.
He nailed the business so hard that I looked for business opportunities through these walls, but there were nasty archers on top, so I quickly told him to ignore my previous order.
I mean, I could build walls, I guess. Just like a small wall around the city. Just a really small one. Something like this.
That would have been a glorious wall indeed, but I had to settle for this snake-like construction instead.
Go ahead and smash those fools. Come on. Oh, God! Oh, he's a ninja! Oh, he's playing my creature for a fool! Ah, he's dead.
I fired off a missile of a fireball and almost fooled myself into believing I had hit it, even though I obviously didn't. But with another blast...
The beacons are lit! Our drunk brother calls for aid! There's like zombies.
Inspecting the glorious pyre, I found one of the samurai statues, and the puzzle made sense. At least the first part of it, which would be to find all statues. Scouring the island, I found 3 more. An orange one, a green one, and a yellow one. And I timed me flying by perfectly as my troops conquered the first village. So I set their course for the next one, and the Japanese managed to once again send in a Trojan horse of soldiers. Leaving Wolfie with the issue at hand, I found a blue and a pink statue and could not believe my eyes. The Japanese had a tiger for a creature. They are full of surprises. The lanky fellow would have to wait while I continued my search far and wide for the last statue. But I failed miserably, so I did some other productive things in between. I granted a migration to join our Greek clan, recruiting another troop to hurry up the seizing of the other settlement, and then went out searching again for old stone monuments. It continued to elude my eyes, as it had been for the last couple of attempts, but I found a village with a gas problem, resembling a mission from the first game. I put it on the to-do list for later and finally located the last statue, which was of the color red, by the way. With every color of the rainbow, the puzzle was no match for the colossal noodle I'm sporting.
Maybe I'm getting an army now. Like a ghost army. The samurai Oh! It's actually happening. Called it. Oh. Oh. Perhaps your hand will regain its strength if it would grasp your sword. Your katana. Yeah. Chiquita. Banana. Peace! Okay, they're not warriors.
They are, of course, warriors. The elite kind. For whatever reason, they had the same color blue as the enemy, which I found unnecessary, but at least their area color was green and not red. Trying them on for size, I assailed this little peaceful village and then jumped onto the next silver scroll. These 3 and overly happy gentlemen was on the trail of the ruins of Santora, an old tomb residing somewhere on this very island. To find it, there would be runes hidden somewhere around their camp.
If you scrub the ground around the camp, maybe you'll uncover it by forcing from the tribute menu.
While contemplating if I should give in and buy forcing or not, another enemy platoon headed our way but was luckily stopped in their tracks as we finalized the snake-like wall. We'd also captured the last village in our territory, rendering my small platoons redundant, so I disbanded them. I built a gatehouse to welcome a few loyal followers who had ended up on the wrong side, but had to quickly shut the gate to block out any potential invaders, leaving some familiar faces on the outside. I'm sorry, friends. A ranged army would soon be needed to advance, and I accepted the migration pleas of this small group of people. I expanded our stores, built a creature pen, and erected more than a few villas. My troop of elite soldiers worked like a charm and got us another settlement, so it was time to test their ambush capabilities. Wolfie would set up a trap with his favorite stomp, getting them to flee in absolute terror, and then my men would jump on out from the trees. But I'd forgotten that Wolfie's stomp doesn't discriminate, and if you're caught in between his hairy legs and his target, you're in for a wild ride. So I tried a diversion with the troops, but ended up under his stinky paws anyway. Luckily for me, I still counted 7 katanas at the end of the fight. I finished off the creature pen and then snagged the tree trunks in the valley below to our storehouse. While I was occupied with the deforestation, the Japanese had initiated a most devious plan, sending in a lonely catapult to weaken my defenses. As my gates were open to the public, our Lord Commander went out and did what he did best.
No! We have lost a catapult to this monster!
I finished off the forest harvest and then lit the next pyre, which I had totally forgotten and neglected since I found that glowing statue, which diverted all my attention to collect them all. I lit the wrong one, but as luck would have it, the other one was still burning after this lovely cutscene.
Deadly and accurate. You should take this up professionally.
Thanks, Heavenly Being.
Thanks, Heavenly Being. Right, boys? Let's go for another round. First one.
I still hadn't shut the gate, so people walked right on in like it was Sunday brunch. Wolfie wouldn't stand for it, of course, but his aim with the fireball hurt us more than the enemy. And he sent everybody flying, killing 3 of my most seasoned warriors. This isn't Wolfie's fault, it's mine, but I still decided to punish him anyway and put him on mending our walls. And I also shut the gate. After I laid down these 6 foundations for new villas, I gave in and bought hand forcing, jumping back to the 3 happy stooges and forced away. I've forgotten where they said I should start to look for the runes, so I swabbed my hand everywhere, flipped every stone and ladder before the first one appeared.
Oh, there's one mark. Maybe there's like progression here. Or maybe this is just tedious work.
I grew desperate to find the other runes, but I got so annoyed at the lack of progress that I took a break from forcing and built the graveyard back home instead. Back at forcing, I forced the first rune, I forced some dirt, then forced some more, then forced a mountaintop, before forcing the first rune again.
Oh my god, I had to rub it so hard!
The rubbing wouldn't end there. I had to find another rune by this tree and one by this rock.
A difficult riddle.
I wonder if this is the mystical building that you've been searching for.
But there was another rune to uncover over here before Smiley and his gang would notice the extremely tall and obvious building in front of their very noses. And one last effort in moving the boulders before they dropped to their knees with a wacky waving arm victory dance.
40,000? Marvelous. You can see the evilness in my buildings now. Oh. Okay, so that's why the ground is this way. Because I'm evil. Not that I'm on a volcanic island, it's because I'm evil. Oh, okay, so these guys are good.
Feed the soul of our land with Greek blood.
They don't sound very nice, though.
No, they maintain a good appearance, but inside their hearts were likely as cold as cast iron. Unless you heat it up, of course. Anyway, I dabbed the fields with water droplets, harvested the yield, and took a good look at my creation. His entire aura was now an evil menace. That's my boy. But a tired menace nonetheless, so I steered him towards his pen for a nap. It was nighttime after all.
Let's build some more houses over here. Weren't you supposed to go to sleep? What are you doing?
Reluctant to go to sleep, I gave him a snack and yet again told him to nap, but it was a lost cause. And it's not that he didn't want to go to sleep, but more that he couldn't enter his creature pen due to my poor placement of it. He couldn't traverse up the hillside. Next to the temple, I made a small road and attached a university to it, and much of the village was still unlit, so I added a lamppost to a select few houses, really sparking up the property value of a few villas. You're welcome, random people I favored. Reminded by an empty storage, ore was almost depleted, and the mine was dry, so I figured it was time to make a move towards a new village with a mine attached to it.
I'll take these, and I'll create whatever army I can with my current dudes. I'll take my creature, I'll go through here, all the way to this one. Take this one, because they've got a lot of ore, and I can get more ore here. It's only 9,500. But it's something.
There was also another mine in the next city, which was great news. Hungry for an army, I converted breeders and had a potential platoon size of 75.
Where did all you come from?
People tend to wake up when the sun rises, you noodle.
Ho, ho, ho. Okay, let's create some builders. And I can create a lot more breeders, I guess.
So it looks like people have been breeding new people after all. I've just spent too much time outside the city.
I'm gonna have to snag like a tree, put it over here, and create foresters.
A creative move as there was no forest within range of us. I still had unconstructed buildings that require ore, and I was afraid of running out now that I had building disciples to build them. And war costs ore, so I started to recruit my army of 70 archers and double-checked my part of the island for a spare mine that I might have overlooked. There wasn't any. I got the next level of soldier for Wolfie. That means he'll be more effective and dangerous in combat, and he'll be harder to hurt as well. Fancy that. Addition to that, I should have gotten him smaller feet. He was now too big and clumsy to get around town. This is my way of saying that I shouldn't build houses so damn close to each other. Outside the gate was the regular snoozing army, and as Wolfie crushed their hopes and dreams of a quiet life in the suburbs, I snuck past with my pack of elite troops. There were a couple of different routes to take, but they were all blocked off by walls, the big and stony kind. I don't know why, but I opted to take the route with the most enemies. I probably figured that I would have to deal with them at some point anyway. My loyal guardian stormed forward and suddenly forgot how to wolf. Fortunately, his instincts came back when he somehow charged past the wall and blasted the enemy. And some of his tactics were better than others. I personally think burning the enemy in an area of effect is much more effective than picking up and eating the lonely soldier, but there you go. Low on health, I dragged him away. I couldn't heal him myself, so I quickly procured his own healing miracle, and the Wolfman did not disappoint. He wasn't back at max health, so I turned his attention to these catapults instead. Thinking he was about to rain down fire and be done with it, he healed himself again, which I can't really complain about. A bit confused, he limped after it until he eventually jeeted one with the blazing sphere and kicked the other one before moving on towards the unmanned wall.
Good boy. You're a big monster, aren't you? A big teethy monster. Yes, you like to eat all the villagers, don't you? Yes, who's a good boy, who's a good boy.
I ordered yet more destruction, and he punched a hole through the wall. I wanted to go through the gates, but whatever. Back at base, our archers were ready, and as armors consume more food than your regular villager, I plowed more farmland. I decided not to wait for my men with many bows and headed towards the targeted village. With only 4 elite soldiers left, they would have to hang back while Wolfie did the heavy lifting. He can't capture a village, but by God, which is me, he can smash one.
Take some time for him to choose a target, but when he does, limbs fly.
While he took care of the last breathing organisms, my katana swooped in and started the hostile takeover. Perhaps I'd kept Wolfie a little too long on the soldier leash because he was on the warpath, burning down houses nilly-willy, and I needed the future workforce for my mining operation, so I moved him out of his own way. He was a good boy again, fertilizing trees. I built a not so well thought out road with villas alongside this hill before going back to check on our progress. I was met with a boneyard. I'm not complaining as I had missed the retaliation, and Wolfie handled the situation without me intervening, but he didn't seem at all bothered with killing anymore. I've created a monster. Awesome! The monster would also take his anger out on innocent trees, which I didn't care for.
I'll sometimes heal our platoons on a regular basis. Of course you're gonna do that. Perfect.
Blood-hungry monster averted. Soon after we seized the village, the Japanese was less than thrilled.
Unleash the fury of the winds. Fire the hurricane epic.
There's an event. The Hurricane Epic? How am I gonna take care of that? Are you insane? Are you insane? That is not cool. Is that a healing miracle? If I need to? Oh, I'm just gonna heal.
The healing miracle was unfortunately also trapped in the never-ending hurricane.
How are you able to do this when you're not even a god? Doesn't make sense. Oh, you... Ugh. I haven't built a granary. Do that over there.
When the hurricane finally subsided, it had swept away the majority of my population. Most of my buildings seemed fine, but I would have to enact unrestricted breeding policies again.
Where's my creature? You're working on that wall for whatever reason.
Yes, his hatred for walls was still in full effect. I thoroughly assigned the jobless to the work they were best suited to, when suddenly the enemy launched a surprise attack. In the background there you can see their little tiger running away like a little wimp. With ore to spare, I transferred some of that rich mineral to Rome, where my followers were lazy and unmotivated. There were still a lot of battered buildings needing repair, and with our newfound ore I fixed the storage, altar, granary, and even the smelter, which I believe was never completed in the first place. As they looked extra helpless, I also splashed and harvested their fields. Alright, back to the mine, where I grabbed all of these lonely pebbles to fill up the store I had just robbed, and there was a very particular problem with the newfound villagers.
You're not too old. You are too old. What kind of village is this? You're just too old. Everybody's on the verge of dying. Well, I'm not gonna have any people left.
Yes, they would most likely all die soon, but I'd appreciate a few offsprings before they do.
I'm depressed. There we go. Now you're a happy pappy. And you know what? You're gonna be a full happy pappy here soon as well.
I finished their new storage and popped down a nursery. Perhaps a little too much on the nose, but now they know what's up. I figured a siege workshop would work wonders on these big and pesky walls. After all, with the archers on top, Wolfie was quite exposed to their arrows. But I was short on space, so I placed down 2 villas in hope of expanding my line of influence a tiny bit.
Their creature has breached our walls.
Just you're working on. You really don't like this wall.
I really couldn't unleash Wolfie for 5 minutes before he would be back caressing those walls. His free will had been restored, but his alignment remained with the likes of Satan. So I put the Gatherer hat on for him to earn some points with the villagers. Silly me deciding right after to pillage this city, for which I needed my angriest boy to knock on their precious gate.
Did he just grab that? Yes, he did. But that was badass. Hello.
My level 3 K9 soldier did some real damage, by the way, and their 4 armies and 3 catapults were now down to 2 armies, as the 3 catapults made their escape to God knows where. With most of the platoons eradicated, I mobilized my small troop of men to capture the town, while Wolfie took a volley of arrows like a champ.
Bam! And then you healed yourself. Oh my god, you are awesome.
And dumb, as he couldn't figure out how to get close to these noodles, so I moved him away while we waited for the village to be ours. I glanced over to the next village, where it looked to be a stinky problem.
This town is diseased. There must be something we can do.
Flailing my hand about would cure this stinky disease, but it took a lot of effort, just like the rune from the land before. Every time I would boot this game, I would need to change the polling rate of my mouse, or controlling the hand was sort of difficult. So there was probably some sort of compatibility problem, as the game is now rather old, and I would need to violently flail my hand about for a minuscule amount of effect.
You guys stink.
Have you ever considered taking a bath? Just as I was about to cure the last disease-ridden person, another one would get infected again. I'm only one god here. I can't take care of all your stank.
Excellent job. Now build up your impressiveness to get them to migrate.
Sending an army and take the town by force is probably more my style at the moment, but thanks for the suggestion. While I was busy making room for the siege workshop, we won over the town, and I moved on back to quickly assign a few disciples to high priority tasks. You can kind of see Wolfie in the back there bashing the heads of the last resistance. But these villagers were just as old as in the other village. What are you... Oh, they're dead. And perhaps a little limp. But I would still place down a nursery, and those young enough would have to do their part for the community. Into the mines. Hiding in the trees just outside our new settlement, I spotted an imposter. I wasn't going to let him spy and steal top secret strategic information, so he had to be dealt with accordingly. Get wrecked, Stripes. Of course, the senior majority village wanted a siege workshop and a graveyard. I can understand the graveyard, but the siege workshop bewilders me. Over in our capital, I created our first catapult.
Oh man, catapults! Oh, these babies are gonna rip through their walls like paper. It's gonna be great.
Jin's enthusiasm was so contagious that I created 2 more. Maybe we can cut off this. If we can just take this area of the map, then we can start focusing on this, and those catapults is probably gonna help a lot. Obviously the catapult can't go in solo, which is why I also recruited 40 soldiers and 30 archers. As you know, armies consume a lot of food, and the storage was running out of that anyway, so I put some time into the crops, both harvesting and splashing, especially the splashing part of it all. Timber was also low, so I figured I needed more foresters. The only problem was the forest was out of reach. Thus, I did what I always do when I need to expand my influence. I built a small house right up next to the border. There's a better way to do this. By simply putting down a more impressive building, the line will expand a lot more than for these small and very non-impressive villas. But as you know, I'm a very non-intelligent noodle. You can't stop the noodleage. For once my nursery was overflowing with children. It seemed birth rates were rather high, so I built 2 new nurseries to facilitate my future soldiers. It's all about nurturing. You guys want a temple? You're dead? What? What's happened? When did you die? Why did you die? Please don't tell me you died of hunger. I mean, come... What an idiot. The idiot probably died out of starvation, but I'm the idiot who didn't feed him. Let's just see if they will do anything. Maybe I can just capture this one. Maybe they won't do anything. Maybe they won't retaliate. Maybe they will actually, because the tiger's there now. I wouldn't dare exceeding the limits of my own capabilities without some sort of backup from dear old Wolfie here. And he needed a snooze and snack before anything else. This time I discovered that he's actually not disobeying me, but rather that his feet are too massive to get inside his pen. So I demolished this villa, without checking if someone was currently occupying the house, but I had people to spare, so it's fine. Unfortunately, his feet was still too big for this steep hill, so I pondered if I could move the pen somewhere else. I demolished an additional 2 houses and saw my line of influence shrink while the pen was too big. I came to the realization that big buildings expand the circle quite a lot. But I don't have any room for big buildings. Alas, I did the same thing again, expecting a different result. But there was a spot I missed over here and finally got the big cage down. And as you can see, the line grew significantly bigger. Let's do some warfare. I'll go in with my creature, attack this. I'll take my siege dudes, see if they can reach the wall without getting killed. Wolfie cleared up the path with a new tree trunk swinging technique. He defaulted back to his stomping ways soon enough, but I was impressed nonetheless. And the time had arrived to see if my plan of many catapults would smash the walls into submission. Aiming at the heavy archer-ridden sections of the wall, my catapults fired away. Nice. They're a lot more effective than my creature. Indeed, and they smashed the gates with little to no effort. Wolfie, you've been outmatched. But not replaced. I still needed his stomping shoes on these squishy noggins. Whoa! Yeah, wow. Are you just gonna stand there? Kill them! Help your creature, help your wolf! Wolf, help your people! Don't go away! While my fleshy meatbags finished off the remaining noggins, I put Wolfie on another incoming army. And for your information, his savageness had reached new heights, as he now double-tapped his adversaries. I think I might want... What are you doing? Oh yeah, you don't want to leave any witnesses. I think I'm gonna take care of this wall as well, and that catapult, so this entire area is taken care of, is mine. Then we only have, Minas Tirith left to take care of. The other set of walls posed no challenge. As Wolfie demolished these catapults, our own had already broken through. I quickly followed that by some poaching while my battalion searched for any remaining victims. As Wolfie distracted the big cat, I snuck in with my troop of elite city stealers. And even though he could hold his own, my archers needed target practice. Don't worry everyone, I didn't get to interrupt Wolfie's killing spree. As it seems, I can't interact with a foreign creature if he's engaged in glorious combat. Even though sometimes I could. It's a bit random is what I'm trying to say. But with a pouncing uppercut and a sweet diving splash, my poor old buddy ate punches like he ate grain. Get up, Rocky!
You gotta get up, Rocky! Get angry, Rocky! What are you doing? I'm in a lot of pain, yeah, but kick his ass!
Now, if you're a sane person, you're probably thinking that Wolfie is in over his head. I don't judge, but you're totally an idiot, and he's been in control this whole time. Also, I never doubted him for a second.
Oh, you did it! Victory. A hard-earned victory.
With the coast clear, I sent in the remaining troops for a speedy overtaking process. Put my catapults on the next wall and asked the Beast of Many Talents to break up this patrol just outside of Rome. We got the village and the patrol had been trampled. Excellent news. Wolfie had earned his free will and a short break, and when I say short, I mean short, because the Japanese was on the warpath again, sending in their big cat and little minions.
Flee! Retreat! Retreat! Go get him, boy.
And he got. So I advanced the beast towards Minas Tirith and would set our aim at grabbing this village before assailing the capital. Magnifying the situation, I could tell that they were on the brink of collapse. Out of 143 people left in their town, 140 was enlisted in the army. So with the penultimate town secured, there was no other way than forward, into the beast's maw and claim the land. But the enemy are a slippery bunch. While I was distracted feeding my wolf a pre-battle snack, Mr. Stripes here made a run for it. He would do this 10 more times. It was rather vexing, I'm not gonna lie. We usually caught up with him around here, delivered a few punches, and then got back to the main thing, which was obliteration.
And where are you? You're gonna go in, and you're gonna be all stealth-like and go and capture this one.
A good and well thought out plan, no doubt. My platoons were busy keeping the enemy at bay, but my catapults were free to attack these barracks, and with our Lord Commander distracting their last platoon, my men would sneak in and start capturing the city. And off goes Mr. Meow again. And then something strange happened. His population suddenly exploded from 34 to 74. That is some breeders, that. So I thought it best to prepare another 2 platoons of sword wielders and bow benders.
My creature doesn't have any free will anymore. He's purely a soldier now. This is their favorite spot to fight.
Unbeknownst to me, I'd been overrun at their town square, so I pulled back my catapults and rallied up another fresh batch of soldiers from Old Town.
Am I still capturing it? There's one left. What a brave soul. I want to fight for my town and village just like everybody else. I am valuable. Are you really going into this? Are you really gonna be a soldier?
I need all the Homo erectus I can get at this point.
He suited up and was all ready to go. Oh, come on, not again.
This time he made it as far as my village, where I could intervene, and poor old Wolfie caught a break as I showered Mr. Stripes with flaming hot fireballs. With my new troops and platoons having arrived at the city gates, so did the much irritating cat again. But he ran past my fleshy meatbag, so it was alright. We worked our way up the road and could finally lay down another strike. I also put my catapults on the remaining barracks, so not to get surprised by an ambush.
Oh, what's happening here?
A gross violation, that's what's happening. But it was all a ruse as I captured and won over the land. The brothers here couldn't believe our Greek super strength was so strong, and the first brother asked the second brother to go back to their homeland as I would surely go there next. And how right they were as I gazed upon my soon-to-be-conquered landscape.
If they can triumph over us, we will have no option but to offer ourselves to their side.
He can kiss my shiny red behind!
In their well-established and terraformed island, I enter with nothing but a dumb hairy wolf and some fleshy meatbags.
Let's create 5 builders. Let's create a lot of breeders in the beginning, as we usually do, and a lot of foresters. I can create some mine workers here now, and I think I'm gonna create quite a few, because we missed a lot of ore before.
With the majority of people now assigned their civic duty, I could focus on grabbing the nearby material and preparing our rock defenses should these fellows come knocking. My hand might have also slipped, and a rock might have also found its way towards them, but at least I know my aim is ready for the day they decide to charge. I took a closer yet farther away look at the island, and then I built a road. This time my plan was to expand my line of influence as much as possible by placing the big and impressive buildings to the edge of a line.
They make a lot of food.
He must be going senile, because he made the same observation and remark 2 levels ago. It might be the other brother though. I don't know. I just added this part in the script because I realized how stupid I am. I extruded walls around us, placed another storage house, and saw our influence expand.
Oh, you've already built that one? Awesome. Go build that one. No, what the fuck? What did you... Why did you do that?
We all think we know why I did it, but as it turns out, he's just a really poor builder.
What?
Farms, impressive as they are to me, they're not very impressive to the people, so I placed them down in the middle and figured that I'm not going to assign any farmers this time around and just take care of the farming all by myself. And for some reason, Wolfie occasionally decided to attack ore rocks. Since the only ore rocks were in and around the mine, where my poor workers toiled, I found this behavior rather reckless and clamped down hard.
How can I expand my line of influence even further? They're gonna want a nursery.
The nursery didn't really expand anything. I mean, the temple. I want the temple to be up here. I want it to look mighty. And as it happens, placing a building on an elevated mountaintop further increases its impressiveness. What a nice coincidence. I also built a creature pen that helped me reach the top. And as I finished framing my farmland, I was reminded that I'd promised to take full responsibility for maintaining and harvesting it. Aha! No. What a crappy road. That somewhat misaligned road would lead to a new altar where worshippers will reside and channel as mana. Only problem was there was no available people to take on the role of worshipper. What I'd usually do is put down a road and then place down my intended foundation for a building. The influence line put a stop to that, so I worked in glorious reverse, and oh was it glorious. After I bought this tavern where my younglings could kick off their boots and relax after a hard day in the mines, I built our village first houses, with a very homely view of our farms if I say so myself. I also extended this road where at the end of it our new tavern would reside.
The population will be grateful now you've built them a tavern.
Indeed, and as I'm erecting it, why don't the screen lurkers lay thine eyes upon our storage houses and see how much the I'll just maintain the farms myself is working out for the village. I continued my expansion with a graveyard and a first-class university.
Perhaps the Greeks are not all barbarians.
Have you ever heard of Greek philosophy? There's a lot of ideas coming out of Greece. Democracy is a Greek concept. Ever heard of it? No, because you're a dictatorship. Idiot. Here, in this village, in the Greek tribe, we vote. Under the guidance of the god, almighty god, me, Babaganush. That... Come on. It's a democracy, don't it's a democracy. Autocrat in disguise, Babaganush, still didn't have any available worshippers. I figured the environment was still too inhospitable, so I finished off these houses for a more fertile atmosphere. Happiness is really low. Why? Is it because we're evil? I genuinely have no idea how to increase happiness and if it even matters. Writing this script, I tried to search for an answer, but the result that came back were all related to the black and white Pokemon game. Bad news, nobody. Anywho, I put the entertainment hat on Wolfie for just that, and would light up the way to our magnificent temple before taking on the island's first side quest. Oh, seems happy. Maybe not, actually.
Quick, leader. Let's help this poor chap put out his fires.
But I couldn't. No matter how hard I forced my hand or waving around conjured water miracles, the fire would still stand. Demotivated, I gave up for now. My village impressiveness was steadily on the rise, and what once was a figure of 9,000 had plummeted to a measly 3,000. With a little more work, we would capture this village on impressiveness alone. I have a lot of forcers now that can't do anything, because I don't have any trees nearby anyway. So maybe I should rearrange their profession somewhat. You're worshippers now, courtesy out of lack of timber, and there weren't any abundance left in our stores either. A most unnerving situation for a town on the rise. There were plenty of foresters to go around, so I also gave the strongest permission to breed, and thought it best to initiate a few into agriculture should my neglect continue. I did all this while something horrible was going on down by the mines.
You've got to do something. It's eating everything. Tabius? Tabius! I'm coming!
We got a creature in the mine, eating mine workers.
This is tragic. People are being killed.
Yeah, but what am I supposed to do? Drop, throw, get ore. As my creature couldn't enter and take care of the beast mano a mano, I went through all possible levels of stupid. Firstly, trying to crush the mine with a big rock. Maybe I can drench it in water.
Oh, why didn't I think of that? Drown him!
Yeah, unfortunately that didn't work either, no matter how many liters of water I splashed over the mine.
I don't get it. He should be floating by now.
So that's not gonna work. I had a similar problem for a dragon in the first game. Now, I think soldiers went into the mine to take care of the dragon and get the treasure. So maybe I need to create a few soldiers. The construction of these barracks is by no means an admission of defeat regarding the impressiveness of our village. I simply needed soldiers to deal with the beast lurking within the mines. As for whether this army will allow me to take what I consider the easy route, well, that's a different story. And I'm not saying that I will. Is everything unclear? Good. While I also built these barracks, a random cowherder antagonized me. Not into hurting him, but to heal him, and his apparently sick cattle.
I understand. Only the man who feels lost can feel joy. Forgive me for taking so long to learn your lesson.
I earned 5,000 tribute for that unintended lesson. The Lord, being myself, work in mysterious ways. Wood is getting a little bit scarce, I think. I need to be careful. I say as I also place down a siege workshop. Oh, I need to be careful with the wood. What am I doing? I say as I also dim-wittedly enough place down another nursery. The oil baron's refinery was still in flames. I figured I could send my creature to help if he had the water miracle handy. It would set me back a big stack of tribute, but completing the objective would earn us the entire sum back. A free miracle, I thought, as I invested in Wolfie and sent him down. One by one, he doused the flames, and in short order, we had handled the burning situation. All the while, the enemy had mobilized in the background, sneaking past to capture the eastern village.
Thank the heavens! I'll leave out these special exploding barrels as an offering to you. The town is getting mashed up bad!
Oi! Remix. While I was busy headbanging to the beat of Jin's stuttering lips, Wolfie would be my solution to stopping the city snatchers. But he hadn't seen a proper battle for days now, and you could tell. With a hefty volley and damage, I told Wolfie to cheese it, not to end up in a ditch somewhere.
We're getting beat up good!
What? They went through? I had most likely misinterpreted Jin's beats for the wrong village. They'd been slowly etching away at my gates for a while now, but I again remembered that I happen to be a god, and I have miracles. Fiery miracles. My villagers are, however, not immune to friendly fire, but it all worked out great as I splashed them with water, threw together a healing concoction, and so also completing another objective. The mine was still being pestered by the unknown entity within, so I gathered 5 men to brave the mines and slay the foul beast. Maybe you shouldn't go in there right now. Maybe you should wait. No, I wasted a platoon of 5 men! They shall forever be remembered as the brave 5. Our titan stood tall outside our walls and valiantly discouraged the offenders, chasing down the last 2. Reinforcements were inbound, so I retreated Wolfie back to the castle walls and loaded up on fireballs. Perhaps doing more damage internally than to the enemy, but I gave it a good shot. Steadily on the move, the Japanese was now in the northern village, while I focused on the task at hand. The beast within the mines had to be dealt with. I upgraded my Beast Slayer group with 20 men instead of 5, and waiting for everyone to gear up for the war, I admired Wolfie's battle skills. They tried to overpower him with numbers, but he stood his ground firmly and was generous with his stompage. With my troop finally ready for battle, I sent them straight in to kill the beast. This time they came out victorious.
Shake the ground. Bring them to their knees.
Gripped by fear, I saw a blue radiating orb outside my town. That can't be good. Okay, while we can, capture this one. Oh, it disappeared. Good. Siege weapons. I have that as well. What's going on here? Oh no! Right at my army! Whoa! No, don't kill my army! People! No! They're trapped! The Japanese had channeled their new earthquake wonder. Luckily, most of my men managed to escape the gates of hell. It's a cataclysmic event! My poor wall! Okay, 2 can play that game. Whoa. Do I need to rebuild my wall somehow here? Okay. The earthquake aftermath tore down both my walls, but who needs concrete walls anyway when Wolfie acts as a wall himself? I was about to repair it when I saw the scattered terrain mend itself. Lovely. Too bad it didn't reinstate my poor wall. Figuring the beast had eaten most of my mine workers, I introduced 6 new workers to a new definition of darkness, and the town asked yet again for sustenance. So I watered, harvested, and harvested. The scale had now tipped over all the way, and according to the villagers, I was pure evil. It felt hopeless trying to revert back to good, as my actions barely made a dent at all. And what do I mean back to good? I've been bad this whole time. The parchment of many facts stated that I indeed had more mine workers than I thought I did. 11 in fact. And in addition to that, I had neglected to incorporate refiners. My granary and smelter were basically just pretty buildings no one ever used. I rolled out my second wall and put my best foreman on it as I pondered on what to build next. Tavern, check. Graveyard, check. I think I've built everything that I have. So I built nothing, but fireworks in the distance indicated that we've stolen a village from our competitor, and with what I consider a Hail Mary, I sent my troops to steal the northern village. If I wanted, I could now recruit a new platoon with an astonishing number of 55 men, but I was taken aback by a most disheartening fact. No one was using my tavern. Yes, the people were as unhappy as I was indifferent at this point. Without a clear plan to move forward, I found myself stuck. Too little timber to expand, too few new buildings to spark an interest, and an army too small to dent their defenses. It left me feeling utterly lethargic.
We're getting trashed.
We're getting trashed? By who? Oh, no way. Yes way, but no way. I didn't have any armors, and with a busy beast somewhere else, I saved what I could, which was wood and food, and the village was left to its own fate. I had a rather skewed proportion of ore in contrast to timber, so I opted to expand the village with mansions instead of villas, thinking they required less wood. It's in fact tripled. I have no excuse. While they were busy taking my village with sheer force and overpowering numbers, I was more stealthy and ineffective with my much smaller troop of men. So I took all of your resources. So I don't need this village anymore. Thank you for taking it off my hands. Now I don't need to care for it. And I'll take this, and then I'll take all your resources here as well. Affirmations to myself as I felt lost strategically. I had no army, and to take one of the big cities would require a staggering 30,000 impressiveness. I'm not 100% sure how to do this. Maybe I should just buy more stuff then, more houses to build. Great, more buildings I don't have enough resources for. That would include an amphitheater, a much needed bath, a rest home for the elderly, and a statue market. Amphitheater. This is a good place because the tavern is closed, the university is closed.
The amphitheater? Now that is impressive.
Thank you, I think so too. Statue market. Could be placed maybe over here. A rest home would be much appreciated, I think. I could place it over here. I'll put a bath over here.
People do like a nice bath.
It's gonna be enough for right now. With ore to spare, I built godly and saw that some of these buildings would require wood that I didn't have.
Hey, we've taken the town!
What a timely and neat solution for our lumber problem. I timberly snagged their available wood whilst I'll also refine the closest tree trunks I could grab. On my flight back to town, I also noticed that would impress the hell out of this town and they were now migrating. Hot stuff.
The town is getting mashed up bad.
We've taken over the town!
We have? We have, but you could probably tell that I was rather confused. I just didn't deem our city impressive enough to have won over yet another town, but I won't argue. The enemy also nibbled on my village up north, but that was to be expected. With the last of our sticks and stones, I finished off our new buildings and the mansions I placed earlier.
We're getting beat up good.
Beat up good. We gotta beat up good, boss. We need you to do something, boss. Otherwise, we're gonna get beat up good, boss.
Constantly peeping through the wall, Wolfie worked up an appetite, and our town was impressive after all. 3 villages was now on their way to settle down here, in Rome. I accepted the first group of people at our borders, and as I placed down a new gatehouse, I could see a catapult trying to blend in with the second migration. He got stomped. What about now? 2,744. It would be awesome to take this by force, though. So I think I'm gonna do that. It is time. It's time indeed, so I enlisted 50 face bashers, 2 catapults, and 20 men of bows, and while they assembled, I sent Wolfie to scout ahead. My planning for this attack could have been better, as fresh forces joined their fold at the city gates. On the offense, they stormed towards Wolfie and the village. I swiftly mobilized the troops to meet them head-on. So, why are you dancing? That's a pre-war dance. This is the worst part. The dance before the battle. My troops had all the support they needed from Wolfie until he decided to leave them to their fate. But he quickly regretted the desertion and was back in action. I had hoped the offenders would focus their fire on the towering wolf in front of them, but they were cunning and had a motto of kill what can be killed as they slayed a bigger part of my face bashers standing idly by. As soon as the city grabbers grabbed the city, they tried to make their escape, but my Wolfie is rather large and rather quick, and rather stompy for that matter. And how chill are these guys? Laser focused, staying in their lane, moisturized, thriving. With them taken care of, I figured, why not take over the village and get some influence back up in this house? I wasn't creative enough to come up with something to do while I waited for the town to be mine, so I patiently stood by their side, admiring their work. Good soldier. Good soldier. But it took so long that I chucked down a roam with accompanying villas at this luxurious spot and fed my carnivore a whole lot of grain. I feel sad for the beast as there's tasty meat bags everywhere and I've force-fed him tofu this whole time. I got the village, but before moving anywhere, I processed the nearby timber. My storage was empty after all. This time I noticed that if I'm just Frankie Fast Hands, I could grab almost any tree outside the line no matter the distance. Probably not the intended way for it to work, but I was in dire need of wood. Grabbing the last grain from the storage, an ambush charge was underway. We got a whole lot of them down, but then something terrible would happen. Ooh, another... Oh, there was another army coming, and what happens now? Another earthquake? When a fissure comes hurtling at you, you move. But my soldiers were petrified and was ultimately swallowed by the rift. Watch out, move! What are you doing? I told you to move! Did my guys make it? No, they looked to be burning in hell. And somehow, under that crust, they still seemed to be capturing the village. Just great. Ore was plentiful, but soldiers were now non-existent. So I converted the mine workers and whatever idle villagers I could find into military breeders. And while I waited for soldiers to be born, I trudged my catapults to the gates of this first major city. The middle one was too heavily guarded for 2 carts on wheels and a big giant floof of a tiger. My carts dealt with the terrible threat on the walls, while my floof of a wolf handled any backstabbers. The crust had recuperated itself again, leaving a lonely city center. But it wasn't lonely for long, with my adversary sending in another troop of city-stealing men. Funnily enough, my line of influence was still intact, so instead of relying on the Howlmeister, I dropped a big rock marble on their squishy noggins.
We've taken over the town!
To my discontent, our supreme impressiveness had won over yet another town. This time the center one. I considered this bad, had, because I wanted my influence to stretch to the town over, but I figured I could just swoop in and take a hold of the city later on, so perhaps it wasn't such a big deal. Anyway, as my carts on wheels crashed to the city gates, I mustered a new fighting force, complete with a traditional hierarchy of foot soldiers and archers. While my troops braced for conflict, I expanded this mountaintop paradise with additional roads and villas. We were about to grow our population after all.
Yes. Come in. You're welcome into our town.
Future soldiers are always welcome, especially since my current army is likely to dwindle in number soon. Marching through the gates, I put my floof on their floof and set catapults towards the archers on the second wall, but they suddenly dismounted and charged toward us. Scared out of my socks, I exited the city as quickly as I entered.
Maybe we could go this way. They're gonna go up on the walls again, and then I can kill them with the siege weapons. I think that might be a better idea, actually.
And so I did, but not before watering the crops and changing from playtime to productive time, skipping the sleep cycle. But we're all about the grind here, so that's fine. Expanding my army would also turn out to be difficult, as I currently only had
10. Are you genetically engineering your birth rate to just give birth to women? Because all I can see is women. I need to find some dudes. Wang Johnson, you should be a breeder, come on. You're too old. You've been breeding too much, haven't you?
All out of venom, Wang would have to sit this one out. Sorry, bud, but I couldn't find more than one eligible bachelor, so were my army now to perish, our city would rest on his heir-producing shoulders.
Get the earthquake ready. We shall destroy them that way.
That's fine. That's far away from my... Please? Don't go into the city, please.
So far, the earthquakes have all hit where I've had established settlements, so I'm guessing this is the game's way of telling me that I'm really bad at development. Joke's on you, my city still stands. Back at the gates we powered through, and while my foot soldiers took care of their foot soldiers, my wolf would take care of their tiger. He wasn't too keen on being alive though, and placed himself as a stationary target. Wonderful. Perhaps it was all a diversion, because back at base, the enemy advanced through my much worthless set of walls. I sent them 2 balls of fire, and that was that. No more hostile noodles, and back at the front, Mr. Stripes here was down for the count. Wolfie had moved on to his favorite pastime activity, but as the enemy was on the move, I thought his efforts were best used elsewhere. How I could ever have missed a gaping hole the size of China, I'll never know. But I patched it up before going back to see Wolfie violated again. The big cat caused quite the commotion as he destroyed one of my catapults and chasing my poor people with a tree trunk. After 10 minutes of tag, he was finally subdued. He would ultimately spawn right back into the city, but lucky me, my men prevailed before he could disturb us any further.
Hey, we've taken the town!
Oh, yes. What happens with him now then? Isn't that my creature's pen now?
It is, and if the Striped King is killed, he'll likely spawn somewhere in the vicinity of their own town. I have a feeling we'll know soon enough. I'd lost a city while prioritizing another city, but with manpower to spare, I redirected a platoon just for the sake of it. And of course, the Japanese wanted to reclaim their town, sending in this troop as a sacrificial offering.
That's another platoon wasted by the Japanese. All my mana in one fell swoop. And he's dead. Yeah. Think about what you're doing next time. Stupid cat. Stupid cat. I don't really care about this village though. I just needed it for my own selfish reasons. Ooh, if I take this one... This has got a good vantage point. If I take this one, I might be able to throw some fireballs that way. Destroy them that way.
There weren't many towns left, and I wasn't going to win over the last one with impressiveness. So a couple more battalions and catapults would suit us nicely. I had a whole road of non-designated workers, which I would turn into worshippers, and finally heard something of worth coming out of my villager's mouth.
We need to breed.
Love thy neighbor. That's what I always tell you. Love thy neighbor. You don't need my permission to love thy neighbor. Just don't mess about with your cousins. That's all I ask.
There were a few obstacles on the way towards the next city, but Wolfie took care of that relatively easy, and I could roll forth our assault on the city.
Bring me the Book of War. I need to read up on how to battle creatures.
Shut up about that book already. They've brought you like 50 copies of that book. You've never read it, and you never will.
Yeah, that guy's getting really annoying, flaunting his literacy like an intellectual peacock. Anyway, with the path clear, our floof danced our troops forward to the next military target, and he'd intercept any infidels on the way while the catapults did their thing. Before banging on the door to the city, I'd retreat Wolfie to our nearby settlement for restorative purposes.
Alright, little dude. Whoa! No, 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 no.
Tigger took advantage of Wolfie's absence, but underestimated the power of my bowman. With him firmly in the ground, the city was vacant and all for my taking. Meanwhile, Wolfie would patrol the grounds and stop any advancements. There was this catapult and this leftover soldier wandering around aimlessly.
No! This cannot be! Bring me the Book of War.
Protecting the walls, Wolfie intercepted another patrol, and while distracted, Tigger was yet again within reach of our troops. As we went over the town, he got one of our catapults down, and I may have overreacted. I think you got him. Wasting no time, I took my men to the village atop the hill. I laid down a new house foundation to support our growing population, all the while the Japanese continued their relentless efforts to irritate and test our defenses, sending catapults and small troops to divert our attention and probe for weaknesses. As I'd lost a couple of catapults, I made a couple more, and with the victory atop the hill, I would try out my diabolical master plan. It came up a little short, but with an influence ring nearby, I had a backup plan for later.
Oh, look at this, a side quest.
Where are all these people going? It looks like some sort of evil force is making these people crazy. See if you can snap them out of it.
Unconsciously, I tend to favor Yang's suggestions. He's the good one out of the two, thinking they're just one way to the finish line. Apparently, if you add enough worshippers, they'll pray themselves to death, and you'll earn tribute that way. The evil way, and for some, the right way. I shook the evil out of the first two, but soon after, the mouse troubles reappeared.
Well done.
I could just use
done.
backspace.
Well done.
There we go.
Back to the backup plan. I'd extend my influence, one house at a time, and needing precious wood for the buildings, I snatched all the available trees nearby. Well ahead, I fired off my balls of fire trying to kill the lookouts. Scattered showers would most likely be a fitting description of my efforts, but I got them down nonetheless. Before attacking the barracks in the distance, I decided to extend our line even further. After that, I took a break to repair our walls, tend to our farms, and establish a new agriculture settlement in the unused village.
Are you ready to fight? Yes. You just need a little bit of food. Hell yeah. Do a little dance. Make a little war. Get down tonight. That's a good one. Oh, that's a magnificent one. Oh, poor souls, are you burning? Well, you still alive.
I threw a couple more and figured,
Yeah, I think we can go in now. I think we might be able to go in now. See if we can kill the last two. Oh, perfect.
but first I checked to see if I could expand my army.
165? Yes, please, let's do it. Yes, you've been breeding well, my children.
Beautifully with my new massive army, a hostile troop headed our way. A perfect setup to see what this beast of an army would be capable of. Marching in somewhat of a formation, we met them head on.
That's the end of their reign.
Bring me the Book of War.
Mobilizing for my final assault, they shut the door and prepared their defenses. I dismantled the men on the wall while Wolfie danced his way through the gates. Well, inside, my floof once again took on their floof in glorious combat, and their feeble armies was no match for my numbers.
Bring me the Book of War.
Who's gonna bring you the book now? Everybody's dead.
And the island was ours. The Japanese humbly surrendered and vowed, come the final battle, they would support us against the Aztecs.
Use the gold scroll to move on to Tizadal and be more aggressive.
More aggressive? Jang, behave yourself.
That's Jin. I keep confusing the two. Anyway, I moved on and was greeted by a much unobtrusive Aztec leader.
The last time we Aztecs saw any Greeks, they were under our swords and our volcano fires.
Aztec gold. Give it to me. Give all of that gold to me. I don't know what to do with the gold, but give it to me.
This is where it really gets hot. This is Aztec territory. The big battle starts here.
So it does, and my first order of mayhem was to attack the beachgoers with Wolfie. Not much has changed since the last island, though, believe it or not, it's about to.
Oh, they have a lot of armies everywhere. A lot of side quests. Hello? Some volcanic geysers or something? They've got fire arrows. They are cunning. They are agile. They are guile.
They are deadly. Poor Wolfie was brought down.
No. I'm not gonna accept this. You rise. And you rise right now.
But he never rose, and he never will again, for at least another 5 minutes.
I'm gonna try and only make men as breeders now.
Obviously the men will need their women, but if the men has that specific task and can perform the action, I don't need to waste my potential female foresters or mine workers. A storage house is always needed, and while fortifying the area, my iron wolf dropped in. It was almost like a second coming. I redid part of the wall and cleared up the rubble in this area for agricultural purposes. I renovated the agricultural area and Wolfie was under fire. I could of course have helped Wolfie by crushing the enemy with one of these very suitable boulders to my right, but all I could think of was my non-existent altar. I've relied on my miracles for too long. Killing our Lord Commander, they scatter and does not pursue the village, which I'm thankful for. Please hold off on killing me until I'm at least somewhat established. Thank you. I placed a granary here, but without applying any refiners to it. An unprecedented move, no doubt. And I built an altar so to wake me up from my inactions come war.
They build an altar? As if their god will come to their aid.
Little does he know. I continued the city's self-sustaining goals and created a few farmers and just for me, a few worshippers as well. Give me the miracle juice. I splashed the fields and obtained the little grain I could for the empty storehouse. Wolfie also followed suit with his own water miracle. Best tribute I've ever spent. I proceeded with expanding the farmland, adding a crummy road around it. Such an ugly city. It's not very impressive at all. Calling this a city might be a bit of a stretch, but every man sees his own truth. Where no crops would grow, I planted houses, attached builders to the project, and even before the houses was done, I laid the foundation for a nursery.
Ah, yes, the children. We will not spare them either.
You, sir, are an evil man. A very evil man you are. You are not supposed to be evil. Everybody's supposed to love each other.
The villagers were up to their eyeballs in work, so I left to scout for the dreaded banana-devouring, volcano-summoning primate. He was nowhere to be seen, so my attention was drawn to the silver scroll.
What is this?
That, my friend, is some sort of solar machine. At least that's what you told me.
Let's examine the statues.
After midnight but before 2 a.m. After 6 a.m. but before 8 a.m. After 7 p.m. but before 9 p.m. After 1 p.m. but after... I realized while writing this script that it's probably not that stinking complicated. Like there's a time in between these times and I have the power to control the time of day. I mean, come on. But rather apathetic about that oh so complicated sundial puzzle, I would instead apply myself to the beats of rhythm.
I need to play a rain song, but the rhythms are too complicated.
Yes, it was all very complex. I say sarcastically to myself while actually filling these intricate beats.
Ah, that sounded rubbish, man. No groove.
Sorry, man. Maybe you shouldn't have built your house in the middle of 5 volcanoes, man. That's rubbish, man. Sorry, but that's just pure neglect, man. Oh my god, man. You're stupid, bro. How's it going over here, bros?
My failed musicianship led me to other ventures, like developing my stagnating village. And the people seemed to yearn for war as they asked for the triple header. An armory, ranged armory, and siege workshop.
That is groovy, man. Yeah, baby. Not the best placements of those villas, but houses are houses, you can't complain.
No, not if they want a roof over their silly noggins. There were still Aztec scum outside the city walls, but now I had the altar, and with that, flaming bowling balls. My slinging skills with the little ball of fire had not magically improved by itself, but manically I managed to burn a few meatbags to a crisp. I then embarked on a full-blown construction spree.
A beautiful temple somewhere. Over there. Maybe a beautiful tavern. Over there. Maybe a university. Over there, an amphitheater somewhere, like over there. A graveyard in the middle of nowhere. Perfect. A rest home for the old, which... we won't get any old people because everybody's gonna go to war. And bath. Because people will get sweaty. Waging my wars.
The buildings won't build themselves, so I helped in the slowest manner possible by using one tree at a time. Not very effective. But I don't care because our town was now so impressive that we got the good news of an incoming migration. I also exploited my reach and snagged a few trees from across the lake.
I can grab from there.
Yes, it was rather ridiculous, but our impressive reach now won us over our second settlement of an astonishing
5 people. That wasn't very much. It's over here. An additional 5 people. No, there's 6. Whoa.
One can't be too choosy when playing God, and size doesn't really matter, especially when new settlements enter the fold. There was now 4 migrations happening simultaneously. One group of people was hiding behind our walls waiting to be admitted. I quickly realized that without an entrance, it would be hard for them to feel welcome, so I built a gatehouse to let them through. The Aztecs of course took this as an open invitation, but there was just enough time for Wolfie to interrupt the gate crashers, deliver a much needed stampede, and then retreat inside the walls. Take that, you barrel-rolling ninny-whiffers. With them inside I could focus on finishing off the buildings, but there was a problem. My ore mine was depleted, and our reserves were running low. I would need to find a new one, and I did, in this Aztec village just northeast of us. I then reintroduced myself to the beats of rhythm. This time I was a lot more successful, and the poor chap got his reign, thus saving his well-placed house.
Well done, leader. You've got rhythm.
Word.
Back at base, 2 settlements again stood guard outside the walls waiting to be let through. However, the patrolling Aztecs were proving to be quite the nasty problem. I tried to cheat by reaching towards their flag, and even with the complete amphitheater extending my reach, it turned out to be difficult. So instead I decided to smoke the fools, and voila, come one, come all. Creating my first refiners of the day, another village announced their migration, and while accepting these immaculate specimens, I burnt another group of stinky Aztecs.
Go close to my borders again and... Well, you can't because you're dead. Never mind. Another one?
Another one.
Man, I'm doing so good. I could just build more stuff. The thing is, it feels wrong to just build the same buildings. But maybe that's what you actually have to do to increase your impressiveness. Like build another temple, another bath, another amphitheater. I made it this far with just building one of each kind, though.
It felt a little bit like cheating, but I would have to put aside what little pride I had left, especially since there were buildings I hadn't even gotten around constructing, like a creature pen and a tavern. But the settlements kept rolling in. After accepting these wall dwellers, I'd win over another one. Celebrating this achievement, I gathered trees, moved a big rock, and dropped it on a catapult. The village grew in impressiveness and in numbers, so I put down a few more houses.
Servants, population, people of the mob. You shall want for nothing. Your children shall want for nothing. All I ask in return is your life and blood, sweat and tears, as we take over the land for ourselves and establish a mark on this world and destroy all Aztecs and kill them and, pillage and burn. Pillage and burn.
For the first time, the villagers were actually great at farming, so I had to build a 3rd storehouse to facilitate the overwhelming harvest.
Nobody's using the tavern. Nobody's using the rest home. One is using the bath. Oh, you can actually see him. You're swimming. Relaxing, chillaxing. Took a couple of baths, cause I was all alone.
That's usually how I take my baths as well, alone and sad. I figured it was time to make a move on the ore hoarding village. After all, ours was low. I wasn't even sure it would cover the need to create this army of 50 strong. I've lost count on how many settlements we've accepted now, but this one brought with them 4,000 ore. Nice.
Do you have any ore? 500. Boo! A boo!
My pudgy, fluffy husky snagged his love handles on his way out of town, so I had to demolish these houses and rebuild them on the hillside of the village. I put my platoon on his heels and off they went towards bloody endeavors. And there was something going on in the village, because everybody was walking around like C-3PO.
Hey, Chief Sitting Bull. I need you to breed.
The takeover of the village would turn out rather smooth, with no bloodshed whatsoever, except a few broken planks of wood. It was a ghost town, so I'd most likely already taken over this town. Before accepting another migration, I would expand our housing area, and with that hostile takeover,
huzzah!
I picked out a lucky few to live in the town, but apparently it doesn't work the same way as in the first game, where you could politely suggest someone relocate. But I didn't want that ore mine to go to waste, so I got back to the basics, increasing my influence by constructing a building or two close to the mine. Then there was no problem converting people to mine workers, and I could steal the big pebbles of ore and move over all the material to majestic Rome. While doing so, I also secured another town, my biggest one yet. I didn't plan on taking over the whole land through sheer impressiveness. It just kind of happened organically. Because of that, I decided to lay down my arms and focus solely on construction, and more construction.
I've underestimated the power of just building houses and stuff.
And of course, I needed new buildings to satisfy this urge for expansion. So, among a pot market and a house, I also acquired a plant market, a prison, and a lumber mill. I didn't bother looking up the differences between a regular house and a villa. All I knew is that it's different, it was new, and it was exciting. I would most likely need more timber to match my dream empire, so I snagged this forest and built another storage to house all that wood. I then put my prison down by the creature pen. Cower in fear, you crooks. Laid down a road and built one of the markets. Using God build, I erected the houses and decided it was time to disband my platoon of archers. Our overhauled way of living had no need for archers. With just 1,000 units of grandeur left for this village, it felt easy impressing the people this time around. But it was most likely down to me actually developing our city. Speaking of development, I put down a temple, bath, university, and a tavern. In a perfect world, all my villagers would have their own bathing facility, but they would have to make do with just 2.
Was it this one? Yes, it was. How much ore do you have? 18? That's a lot of people, though.
Yeah, this sea of people was rather large. We would need a lot more housing to accommodate all these fleshy meatbags. Too bad they didn't bring any ore from their mine. But the other incoming migration was flush, and that with 20 big ones. glorious. With 2 big packs of individuals coming our way, I built more houses, and the space felt a little cramped, so I tore down the walls. Yes, my dream for a peaceful paradise was really taking shape. You can't build houses on boulders, so they ended up in the nearby lake, and I ended up using the temple blueprint as an influence line extender. And just what I needed, an ore delivery. The people are welcome too, of course. I'll do another nursery, an amphitheater, that's big. I'll do another graveyard, I'll do another rest home. I'll do another bath. A lumber mill, I haven't done a lumber mill yet. Maybe another temple. Maybe another prison. Scooping up the ore, I could finish all these blueprints, and welcoming this band of travelers, we reached peak impressiveness.
The Greeks are strong. We must safeguard the sacrificial lands.
This beachy paradise was merely an outpost, and we would have one more final battle with the Aztecs, or construction of, whichever it may come to be. Probably death all around.
Are you sure you wish to leave the land? Click again to confirm.
We made it, boys. This is the Aztec homeland. The final conflict.
In the sacrificial lands, the Aztec had 2 minor villages and 1 major village, and it emanated raw power. But luckily for me, I didn't stand alone.
Greek god. The Japanese follow you now.
Yes, the Japanese held true to their word and offered their city as a base. What a bunch of legends. This is the world, and it's really scary. It's got 2 really scary skulls. I am afraid. And I've got somewhat of a established city already, courtesy of the Japanese. So thank you. Thank you very much. Wolfie was in his regular good mood, dancing away his troubles. But he'd become rather lanky and perhaps too lean. So I dabbed the farms with water and fed the grain to my floof. After that, it was straight to bed. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna put it here.
It is time. Unleash the creature.
Other than splashing more water and building a tavern, that was the extent of what I managed to do before the enemy mobilized outside my walls. Seeing this as the last and ultimate challenge before us, there were no time for silly games, and seeing as an altar had already been constructed and with mana accumulated, I fired off a couple of flaming hot balls. And it just wouldn't be the same if I didn't almost accidentally burn down my own village. I'm not gonna send in my fleshy meatbags, I'm gonna send in my biggest of meatbag. Mr. Meatbag. While Mr. Meatbag was focusing on their catapults, I continued with the roast and was decently successful. Until this guy started shouting.
Attack! Attack!
Attack, attack. Are you... Oh, hey! What is going on here? Nothing. As promised, their monkey had been unleashed with a massive supporting army of Aztecs. Creature against creature, I put Wolfie on the opposable thumbs guy and summoned my armies to meet them head on. Regrettably, Wolfie had to eat a volley or 2 because of my sluggish commands, and my scorching miracles went over their heads. Literally. Run, Wolfie, run! I dropped a fireball on his noggin, which generously bounced straight off and rolled onto the disbelievers. May you forever burn in Mictlan, you rotten nincompoops. The talented primate was, however, still a bit of a hassle, and he managed to heal himself while trampling inside our walls. I burnt another platoon and a necessary sacrificial troop of my own before directing my idle bowman on the beast. With somewhat of a recuperated wolf, his efforts will now be forced upon the damn monkey. I again tried to torch him, but his thick skin seemed to be invulnerable to my fiery attempts. I've heard hair to be quite flammable, but it doesn't seem to apply to his hairy back. While the endless conflict of immovable forces raged on, I focused my divine powers to taking down this catapult with a rock the size of a small mountain. Wolfie took a few punches to the face and looked to be done for, but my bow-wielding men focused their efforts and managed to only kill 1 titan this day. And I fired off a fireball for good measure. A sneaky troop of raiders made it through our ranks. It felt a little like dealing with a rat infestation. No matter how many I cleared out, there were always more lurking in the wings. You guys are doing great. You're doing God's work. Literally.
Let the power of the volcano again decimate these people.
No, not a volcano. It's almost in the middle of my town. It's in the middle of my town! What's he doing? Winning the war, decimating our people, doing exactly what he said it was gonna do. Oh. My wall! My wall is broken! Water miracles, just in case. What am I supposed to do with that? Eventually the volcano collapsed in on itself. Hallelujah. I cooled the fissures and laid down the foundation for a new wall, all while the pint-sized fury kept yapping in the background.
Attack! Attack!
We come to your aid, God of the Greeks!
Hey! It's the Norsemen!
The Norse general has sent troops to aid us against the Aztecs. All is not lost.
I had lost hope that the Norse would come to our aid. Leaving the Norse land, I thought their allegiance was ambiguous and at best uncertain. But here they were, ready to fight. With a conquering laugh, I ambushed the Aztecs with my band of rallied Norsemen. Meanwhile, the Aztecs launched a full frontal attack against my city. But I had a big rock, the greatest weaponry in any god's arsenal. After a few tosses and a perfect game, they retreated towards their city under siege. Now and then a hostile catapult would come pop out and interrupt my takeover. I didn't really understand how, seeing as...
Where are all the people in this town? There's no people in this town, are there? There's a lot of voices yelling, screaming, agony.
But a population consisting of actual people, I didn't really see any. In between micromanaging the siege of the city, I would try and rebuild mine.
What in the name of...
Chimpanzees!
What's he doing here? How did you get in here?
Well, with no protective walls, the city was basically a free-for-all. Fortunately, his hairy back was combustible this time.
Splash some water, everything is fine, he's dead.
Juggling my presence back and forth, I would capture the city 1 minute and then having to abort not to get hit by a giant boulder coming our way.
You can do it. You're an advanced soldier. Level 3, max level. Get that monkey. Ooh, victory dance. Peace among worlds.
I eventually caught on, destroyed their workshops and any remaining catapults with Wolfie so that my men could focus on their choreographed crusade.
150 tribute. Oh yeah, baby.
Feeling obligated to, but not really sure as to why, because I would only go on to wage a war, I'd expand the city with an amphitheater, new farms and houses, assigned breeders and indoctrinated worshippers, as that was now an empty space.
Look at the lads. A night out with the lads. Just boozing and cruising. I do declare. Oh, what's happening now? Another volcano?
We Japanese fight with you Greek warriors.
No.
With honor.
Another set of platoons? He doesn't stand a chance. My boys, my men. Always knew you had it in me to follow me. A true god, a real god, a majestic god, a beautiful, handsome deity.
With the men stationed outside the city, ready to attack, I grabbed Wolfie. But I was disrupted by a flaming monkey again. Wielding the boulder of war, I interrupted his self-mending attempts, as well as assisting Wolfie in whatever way a rock-wielding god could.
Oh! Sorry, I hit you both.
Used to big things dropped on his head, Wolfie would come out victorious, so I sent him down to meet up with the Japanese and I kindly asked the Norsemen to join him. And of course, Mr. Opposable was back in all his hairy glory.
Look at his eyes. He's high. He's high, he doesn't know anything.
This time I hit him with some wall debris and his life was ultimately ended with a fierce canine kick. Roadhouse.
God. Somebody fucked his brains out.
With the ape man's brains splattered on the ground, Wolfie and the Japanese would storm the city. Of course they closed the door on us, so Wolfie would have to do us a solid and kick it into submission, which he did, brilliantly. While my armies flood the city, I flew back to our corner of the world only to see the enemy mobilized outside with a monkey man running rampant in our fields.
Oh!
Out of harm's way, not the monkey but my villagers, I roasted him. And then I roasted his friends.
Out! Remove! What am I doing? Oh, and a baby's crying.
Yes, it was chaotic, but I sautéed the last of the invaders and then worked on the big problems.
How do I remove the names? Where did they come from? Input.
With everyone killed so not to see their names anymore. Kidding. Wolfie would attack their armories while the rest of the company hit the village center. I also took a bird's eye view of the landscape, looking out for any incoming and unwelcome surprise attacks.
I mean, you might as well join the party, right? It's gonna go a lot quicker. What is going on in the Colosseum, in the amphitheater? It's Yorick Bernhardsson and he's... Oh no, he died! Yorick Bernhardsson! You killed him! You lousy human. You are a lousy man. A lousy man, and I do not like you.
The men worked hard at obtaining the city as I scouted the situation over in the capital, and the fortifications looked fierce. Our last endeavor, hopefully. I repaired our walls and figured I needed a new entrance before securing the penultimate city. On the move, the enemy made ranks outside our city. I thanked them for the easy target practice and then assembled the troops, all while I practiced some more. The free spirit was yet again pouncing at the enemy, albeit on the wrong side, but I appreciate the effort. But with the proper guidance, he smashed through the gate and could retreat to safety.
A healing miracle will be dealt to all of you, and you will be healed. I can throw healing miracles? I can throw healing miracles. That's stupid, but it works.
You've got to admire their courage, charging down, not hiding behind their towering walls, and all this knowing their fate will be the same as their last platoon.
Why don't you take the last one? And he's dead.
Poor fella gets swarmed by Greek piranhas. My catapult's projectiles had become heavy-duty missiles drawing out the Aztecs. The majority of their force was now within reach of my hellish fire, and what a bonfire it was. All the important people were there, or perhaps burned there.
I need to poo. Okay, fall back. Fall back if you need to poo.
Desperate times calls for desperate poops.
Oh, it's evil. I was 40% evil before. What am I now? 42. How is it evil killing your enemies? I don't understand.
When facing a dictatorship like this, force is the only language they understand. Back within their walls, Wolfie almost destroyed our own catapults and soldiers as much as theirs, and Mr. Opposable was back, causing a commotion. In the middle of all this, I set my catapults on one of their barracks and recruited more archers.
Oh shit! Run! Run, 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 run away, run away, run away, you can do it! Oh! Ooh, maybe. Actually, everybody, go back, please, before the monkey does something we don't want him to do.
Like getting chased and trampled all the way back to our own domains. A few men were lost to his smashing feet, but fire hot, monkey scared, and he cowered off. With my new army marching forward, I disbanded the smaller companies so to create a big fresh one.
Okay. Good job. No, stand there in the circle. Don't attack the walls. For the love of God, let the walls go! For all that is good, holy and pure, let the walls be!
His hateful nature against walls is so ingrained into his DNA at this point, so I don't know why I even bothered. Speaking of DNA, as you know, he's also very fond of stomping. That on people's noggins. Too bad that sometimes the noggin people fight back, and this time they got the better of poor old Wolfie. My bowmen was there doing their best to help, but they were bested by this tree line, unable to reach or see the enemy. What a bunch of geniuses. I almost deserved to lose the war with worshippers like that. One thing they got right though was killing this fella, and I could take my new platoon of foot soldiers and meet up with the rest inside the city. The city was divided into different zones, each with its own protective wall and gatehouse. So while the catapult worked on their next perimeter, my archers would kill their archers, although I had to maneuver them around the trees again. My beast was back but stuck in his pen, so I demolished a path for him to be able to join the slaughter again. And slaughter it was as he carried out another fratricide, though he was kind enough to heal the survivors. I reached the final zone and Wolfie cleared up the last platoon, or so I thought. I didn't account for the last two barracks and I was ambushed by two newly recruited platoons. In the end, I think it was more Wolfie's fault than the Aztecs that we lost our entire army. But he wouldn't back down until every last human inside was a step in the ground. Desperate for soldiers, I cancelled everyone's weekend pass, scrambled together what people I could in the other villages, and got together a band of 20 Greek soldiers. Before sending in my final platoons, I searched for the primate. He was nowhere to be seen, until I saw him bashing my troop.
He's coming! Hold on!
But the running wolf could not get there fast enough, and a ball of fire struck down half of my company. The rest persisted towards the town's central, while the final battle between Canine and Primate would reside. A hard-fought battle between claws and thumbs with a finishing roundhouse kick. My men reached the top. Close by, I put Wolfie as a guard, and the monkey would spawn one more time, trying to body slam my reinforcements. He eventually gave up altogether and pondered his life choices. And with that, we conquered the last city.
We've done it. Please say that we've done it.
We are too strong. Everything is lost. The Aztec Empire that would have ruled for millennia is destroyed.
I was now the one supreme being, ruling over the world.
Never doubted you for a moment, boss. It's wonderful we won, but we should have done it the good way.
We need to grow the tribe.
Yeah, everybody's dead. I agree. The tribe needs to grow. But I am focused on the golden scroll here, you see. The last one.
And then the Aztecs prayed forth an Aztec god, and there is a whole expansion where you actually fight another god called Battle of the Gods, the end.